T's online. Standard rates apply.
Thank you for joining us on 7:02 afternoons. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Suleiman Karim slips testimony amid claims of a possible heart attack, and Russia offers to safeguard Iranian enriched uranium. A very good afternoon. I'm Monkey Zikoko. We begin with news just in. The family of Northwest businessman and ANC affiliate Suleiman Karim has confirmed he's been admitted to a Johannesburg hospital. The circumstances of his hospitalization remain unclear at this stage, following earlier reports that he suffered a suspected heart attack at the gym this morning. Karim was due to return to the Madlanga Commission to continue his testimony this week after a previous appearance last month. Nkosikhona Malingamnisi reports.
Suleiman Karim was compelled to testify publicly before the Madlanga Commission in March after a failed court bid to give evidence in private. He argued that threats to his life and family justified closed proceedings, but the commission ruled that transparency must prevail. Karim's testimony is central to the commission's investigation into alleged corruption and tender manipulation. He is accused of trying to influence Police Minister on special leave Senzo Mchunu to revive a scrapped 360 million rand SAPS tender linked to Medicare 24, owned by alleged cartel member Vusumuzi Kat Matlala. The inquiry is also probing claims that Karim channeled payments through a company registered in the name of alleged tender fraudster Hangwani Maumela's sister to help Maumela evade a SARS preservation order, raising possible money laundering concerns. Meanwhile, Karim is understood to be receiving treatment at Netcare Mill Park Hospital, with his family requesting privacy during this time. Eyewitness News.
9 Free State police officers accused of murder have been granted bail of 3,000 rand each by the Bultfontein Magistrates Court. They were arrested at the weekend and face 4 counts of murder, including the killing of a fellow officer linked to an incident in Pameng Township in September of 2024. The officers, all from the Public Order Police Unit, had responded to a reported domestic dispute involving family members. Now, it's alleged that when police tried to apprehend them, the family locked themselves inside the house and barricaded all entrances. According to police watchdog IPID, officers then carried out a tactical entry and opened fire, fatally wounding 3 family members and a 30-year-old constable. IPID spokesperson Paladi Shuping.
The case was postponed to 26 May 2026 for the DPP to decide on the forum on which the trial will be held.
The National Prosecuting Authority has explained why it took nearly a decade to decide on taking action against those implicated in the Life Esidimeni tragedy. Today, the NPA confirmed it will move ahead with charges and what is widely regarded as one of the most serious human rights violations in democratic South Africa. Addressing the delay, the NPA says the decision followed years of complex legal and evidence considerations, describing the case as highly complicated. The Life Esidimeni tragedy, which unfolded between 2015 and 2016, led to the deaths of at least 141 vulnerable psychiatric patients after they were unlawfully transferred from licensed care facilities to unregistered and ill-equipped NGOs. NPA spokesperson Kaiser Khanyago.
In the process, we see between these 10 years, there was that inquiry that was done by, chaired by former Deputy Chief Justice, and then there was an inquiry that was done, and then all of those things had to be looked into and then considered for the purposes of prosecution, and that was done, and the consultations needed to be done, and then Advocate Ndimutibi, together with the NDPP in Gauteng, then made the final decision.
Khanyago has, however, not confirmed who they're going after.
People will then have to be formally charged and then given the charges, and then will indicate when they will appear before the courts.
And the Western Cape government says it is continuing its fight against foot and mouth disease. It says the latest batch of 50,000 vaccines procured will boost efforts to contain the outbreak. Last month, around 8,000 doses were delivered, bringing the total at the time to approximately 170,000 doses received. With the latest arrival, the overall number of doses now stands at around 220,000. Western Cape Agriculture's Dr. Mogale Subupatse says collaboration collaboration between provincial government and the private sector has made this possible.
This shows partnership that government and the private sector could work together to break the back of foot and mouth disease, and we are determined that indeed with this partnership and the ecosystem that is in place, we will break the back of foot and mouth disease.
And Russia says it is ready to take in Iran's enriched uranium as part of a future peace deal with the United States. Failed talks between Iran and the United States at the weekend dashed hopes of a swift deal to permanently end the war that has killed thousands and thrown the global economy into turmoil since it began in late February. The Kremlin, which possesses the world's largest stockpile of nuclear weapons, has repeatedly offered to host Iran's enriched uranium as part of any peace deal. Russia also criticized Trump's threat to blockade the Strait of Hormuz, a key waterway that has been at a standstill since the US and Israel began striking Iran. Gold is trading at $4,722.81 an ounce. The rand is at 16.55 to the dollar, 22.24 to the pound, 19.36 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $102.52 a barrel.
In the traffic is sluggish on the M1 South. This is just before the Killarney bends, and it is due to an earlier accident. Be aware of faulty traffic lights and four ways at Winnie Mandela and Monte Casino Boulevard.
It's a partly cloudy Monday in Gauteng with widespread showers and thundershowers still expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 26 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the family of Northwest businessman and ANC affiliate Suleiman Karim has confirmed that he's been admitted to a Johannesburg hospital.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
From the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between. It's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Enter now on Prime Media Plus. Let's talk shop.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
A very good afternoon, everyone. It is 8 minutes past 3 on Monday, the 13th of April. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you're listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. Hope you had a great weekend. More than 10 years after Gauteng health officials took steps that led to the death of 141 people in the Life Esidimeni catastrophe, some of those officials will now stand trial for what they did. After 5, we'll talk to Christine Ngumalo, who lost her sister Virginia Machpela and fought on behalf of families, including her own. And we'll get a sense of the legal roadmap ahead when we talk to lawyer Sasha Stevenson, who's been part of the legal fight from the beginning. In other stories, the Democratic Alliance has elected new leadership with Jordan Hill-Lewis taking the reins as party leader, and plenty of change at the top level in other areas as well. But what next for the party? One thing to pick new leaders, another thing entirely to win over new voters. Strategist Ryan Kutsia joins us for his take at 10 past 4. With a fuel crisis, have you thought about going electric? Toyota today saying government policy needs to incentivize people switching to electric vehicles. We'll talk to someone, though, who's just done exactly that for a year. He tallied up what he believes he saved over those 12 months. We'll get the details also after 4 o'clock. And we'll meet one of the finalists in the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Fancy a holiday with a difference? Well, listen up. You could be getting some excellent advice at 10 to 5. On the markets, news of the US plan to block the Strait of Hormuz has pushed the price of oil up and knocked shares on the JSE down. The oil share is weaker by 1,120 points. The financial index hit especially hard, down by 1.45%. Capitec down by 2.5%. Advotech has lost 3.3%. That's the education company. Valterra reflecting as well problems with platinum, which has spiked sharply in price. dropped sharply in price, I beg your pardon. Valterra is off by 2.6%. As expected, coal company Thungela has moved up by 8.4% on the oil price spike, and Sasol is up by 4%. The size of that oil price jump, Brent crude is up by 4%, currently trading at $102.50 a barrel. Rand trading at 16 Rand 40 against the dollar. A euro will cost you 19.21, 22.06 will get you a pound. Muteo Khuripe joins us with all the market news at 4:25. We'll bring you sport with Tolekele Mganga. Mongezi Koko has the latest news headlines, and Khumotso Munyai is keeping an eye on the roads. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live, and if it's happening in 702 land, you will get to hear about it here first. With your help, of course, you can contact us on 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. You may have picked up details on of a story that we don't know a great deal about, or there might be an angle on a story we're covering, but perhaps we're not getting all of it, all the most important parts. We'd love to hear from you. That number again, 072 702 1702. 12 minutes past 3. This is 702 Drive.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
So we always look for things that we can talk about, debate about. Some of them, the thoughts are fairly random. It's, the stuff that happens in the course of life. And we've got a question in that vein for a little bit later in the show. But what I want to ask you about is something that's actually in the news. This is a piece written by Kabelo Kumalo in Business Day Today, and I'll read you the first paragraph of his story. The South African Heritage Resources Agency is locked in a high-stakes battle with members of Nelson Mandela's family over the former statesman's belongings. And the Heritage Agency, I'm paraphrasing now, has proposed declaring a collection of gifts that he received during and after his presidency part of the national estate, which would make them difficult to sell. That, of course, would raise questions about how then all of that stuff is going to be properly looked after. But I wanted to get your views. Who does the precious stuff given to Nelson Mandela, or things generated by his own steps? For example, the number 6 Springbok jersey walked when he walked out onto the pitch at Ellis Park ahead of the 1995 Rugby World Cup final. Of course, the number 6, need I tell you, a mirror of the number 6 worn by the team captain on the day, Francois Pienaar. Who does that belong to? Does it belong to his family? And if it's going to be declared as part of the national estate, what plans are going to be put in place to look after that? Make sure that it doesn't go the way of many, many other precious treasures and museums. Our record of looking after the stuff that has been declared as precious is not terribly good. But park that. What do you think should happen? Does this belong to his family? And if so, if they choose to sell things, is that up to them? Is it their choice? Or does it belong to all of us? By the way, the collection totals 4,000 objects. So we're not talking about a thing here and there, rugby jersey here and a thing there. There are gifts, there are portraits made, there's stuff. And there's a lot of it. I'd love to get your view. 072 702 1702, 011 883 0702. Now, we did invite the South African Heritage Resources Agency to come on the show. They say they're in the midst of a court battle and they'd prefer to comment only once it's over. But we're pursuing other angles. Hopefully, we can discuss it with a guest a little bit later in the show. But let's get it going with you and me and everybody else on 072 702 1702. Jonathan Fairbairn producing the show together with Refuel Litsua. What's your view?
Afternoon, John, and afternoon to our 702 family. It's a tricky one. So, I mean, you said there's like 4,000 items there,
Yes.
And whether it's, gifts, like whatever it could be, there could be some really odd things there. I don't know. I don't really hold too much to those. Those could be sort of sold or whatever to collectors. But I think some of the personal items like perhaps maybe, and I'm just talking, I don't know too much about it, but I'm just thinking maybe there's an ID book or a passport. So very personal items. I don't think those should be, up for grabs. So let's say, for example, former President Nelson Mandela had gifted his grandchild and said,
yes,
here's a very, very personal item of mine, maybe like an ID book. I'm just thinking off the cuff here. And now, many, many, many years later, they want to sell that. And let's say it's somebody from Germany who wants to buy it. I don't think you should have a former state president's ID book being sold off to somebody to store in a foreign country.
Yes.
So I think there has to be a balance of things that have to remain and stay here. And I don't know if there should be monetary value put on those things to be able to sold to collectors.
So currently, a lot of the stuff is kept at the Nelson Mandela Museum in Mthatha in the Eastern Cape. If anyone's ever been there, I haven't. But maybe you could give us a sense of how much is on display. Is it well displayed? Is it well looked after? Do you get a sense of it being secure? Just to say, by the way, this has been through the courts. The Supreme Court of Appeal ruled in favor of Mandela's family in regard to 29 assets, and now it's gone to the Constitutional Court. So that's where it is at the moment. The key to his cell is, of course, an item of extreme value, but equally an item of profound significance. But there was a buyer, I believe, in Germany who was willing to pay £1 million for it, which is 22. It's a lot.
There's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. I'll give you the exact number a little bit later. But 22 million rand would be what it would be worth. Then, of course, they may well resell it, because that's what often happens when there's a perceived value. But let's get another view. I mean, Munya about to give us the latest traffic news, but what are your thoughts on that?
Hello, John. Very tricky, as Jono said. But, I do think that as a family member, if you are close or a family member with someone who's a national treasure, you know that person doesn't belong to you. And even when they go, whatever it is that is left behind doesn't belong to you, especially someone like Nelson Mandela. So I would say I think it should go to a museum, either an apartheid museum, or should go to his foundation, the Nelson Mandela Foundation, or maybe towards a particular school, I don't know. But I don't think it should go towards the family, because even if it goes, maybe we are the family, and it goes to Jono and it goes to you, there'll be someone who'll say, but what if I'm the one who wanted that? What if you have something that is of more value? So no, it never goes well with family. So I think it's more neutral if you give it away to charity.
Okay, so let me add another layer to that. Okay. You said, and many people would agree with you. Well, if somebody is as prominent as Nelson Mandela was, he belongs to everybody. But that reality for people, and I'm just generalizing this now, for public figures in general, but struggle figures who not only were unavailable to be with their family as often as they should, they were unavailable altogether because they were either in exile or jail. So a lot of those family members are saying, well, what about us, actually? Because, yes, he belonged to everybody, but that meant that we lost out.
Yeah.
So this is a very important conversation. For Zayn, it's very straightforward, by the way. He says, Nelson Mandela was a private person. His things should be inherited according to the law. It's not a national treasure. Problem with your argument, Zayn, is the law says if it's going to be bequeathed to somebody, it's got to be in a will, and clearly it wasn't.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of the key, the jail cell key.
Yes.
That, is valued at £1 million. Now, should that key belong to the estate? Because, what happened to that key? How did it get to where it was that it was eventually up for sale? Was it the former guard who had the key and kept the key?
I think it was,
and kept that key and thought, well, this could be maybe a nice thing to keep, and it's got huge value. So does that deserve to be in the estate? And then if it does, and it's valued at that, and it ever does get sold, where does that money go to?
Yeah. No, it's a very important and complex conversation, and I'm just very glad there are two extra judges who we spoke about last week who are now sitting on the Constitutional Court, because They have got a lot to weigh up in this matter. I suspect they won't be in on this matter because I think is it about to be heard or already been heard? Probably about to be heard. Okay, anyway, 21 minutes past 3. Let's get the very latest news from the traffic. Khumotso, good afternoon.
Thank you, John. The roads are looking fairly good. Just be aware of that slow-moving traffic on the M1 South from Glenhove Road to the Killarney Bends, and it is due to an earlier accident. Also, traffic lights are out of order in 4 ways at Winnie Mandela and Monte Casino, in North Riding at the N1 in Malibongwe, as well as in Kelvin at Old Pretoria and Woodmead. Likewise, if you come across any more traffic, please do send us a voice note to 072 702 1702.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Now, you may have heard me on Friday talking about my experience of seeing all those people who were down for the Two Oceans Marathon, running along the promenade in Cape Town. Some of you know that area, running through the waterfront, running all over the city, actually. And I was there over the weekend, had a real sense of the presence of the race. And then today on my flight back from Cape Town fairly early this morning, people there proudly wearing what looked like really nice medals, actually very big, proudly wearing their medals as they took up their places in the queue and eventually got to rest their feet, which probably could do with it, as they took their seats in the plane. So I'm just wondering, did you run the Two Oceans? Last year was a bit of a mess by all accounts. Apparently this year run much better. But if you have a story about your race, if you came up with a particularly good time or just in some way Two Oceans 2026 was special for you or somebody else, you may want to just drop us a note on that. 072 702 1702. Well done to everybody who ran. Well done to everybody who finished. If you finished in a personal best or the race was memorable for some reason, well, special congratulations on that. To me, the fact that you got to the start line at all is an achievement in itself. But yeah, Two Oceans, thoughts, memories, anything you want to share in that regard, you can call us on that as well. 23 minutes past 3.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Now, we were hoping to speak to our EWN colleague, Khumotso Modise, because she is in the courtroom covering the bail application of Sergeant Fani Nkosi. But it seems to still be going on, and some of the stuff emerging in the bail application is really quite extraordinary. In a police search at his place, this is certainly coming from the prosecutor. I don't know if these facts will be contested by Sergeant Nkosi's counsel. They found a whole lot of police dockets, some of them dealing with really serious stuff like cash in transit, heists, and other issues similarly grave. Also that he was supposed to have been in possession of a hand grenade, unlicensed firearms, and ammunition. But Khumotso is sitting tight, as she should, as any good reporter would. So we're not going to chat to her just yet, but as soon as we get some clarity on what's going on, we'll get her to give us an update on the decision if we have one, but crucially, some of the details of what's going on in court. You can switch on, I would think most TV channels appear to be covering that live. This after the previous time he appeared, they said no TV cameras in at all, but that's clearly been resolved. 24 minutes past 3.
John Perlman
on 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, let's talk about electric vehicles. And the reason we're talking about electric vehicles, well, how long have you got? Well, we don't need to give a long explanation with the price of fuel and the way in which the fuel price is being absolutely battered by what's going on in the Middle East. Quite a few people are saying, well, maybe this is the moment. This is the moment to go out and get myself an electronic option. Intriguingly enough, Hanno Labuskaghni, who is a journalist at mybroadband.com, has just published a story where, and I'll read you the first paragraph, last year I traded in my petrol car for an electric vehicle, and since then I have saved. I'm not finishing the sentence. Let's rather hear from him. Hanno, welcome. It's good to have you with us on the show. You went from, I don't know if it was diesel or petrol to electric. How did you work out your savings? Was it against a particular traveling distance? What was your MO before you share with us what your conclusions were?
Good afternoon, John. It's great to chat. Yeah, so just to get to the gist of it quickly, I calculated we saved about 10,000 Rand.
Okay.
That was with the assumption that we only charged from the grid. And the reality is that we also used our home solar system to charge. So actually we saved a little bit more, but I used that as sort of like a general measure. And then I did look at our mileage for the year. I looked at exactly how many kilowatt hours we consumed from our home charger, because we've got a smart plug. Actually, we use they call it a granny charger. It's a very, very slow charger, and you can plug it into basically any outlet in South Africa and just charge off that. And even that slow charger was more than fast enough for my daily needs. Just as a point of reference, I travel about 35 to 40 kilometers per day, and that's not too far off the average South Africans travel in a day. NPA has put it around 43 kilometers per day for a two-way commute. So that works out to, between 15,000 and 16,000 kilometers in a year. And so, yeah, I used that mileage. I looked at how many kilowatt hours I used at home, how much I used in public charging. Luckily, the apps allow you to track a lot of that. And there was a little bit of estimates thrown in there with the free charging. That's, of course, a complicating factor because some of the free charges don't allow you to track. But I sort of estimated a very conservative estimate, which would have been in favor of the petrol side. But yeah, so the ultimate conclusion was that it cost us about half what we would have paid with our previous petrol car.
Of course, if you were to do it this year, you may well find the savings are considerable. Was there any cost to your time, opportunity cost or whatever? In other words, there's a filling station pretty much close to anyone who lives in a metro, certainly, and maybe even close if you live in a decent-sized town. Any impact on you time-wise, either positively or negatively?
I have to say, actually, positively. I think there's been a bunch of studies done on this, and because we've got charging at home, I think it might be different for someone who cannot charge at home. Most of our charging is done when our car's in the garage anyway. It's just parked there. We actually live in a complex. We don't have a garage. We have just a shaded parking that fortunately is quite close to our house. So our body corporate allowed us to install or connect a charger there. And yeah, most of the charging is done when the car's parked there and not being used anyway. So the only time we really have to wait for charging is when we go on like long distance trips. And even then, our DC charging is typically it takes between 45 minutes and an hour, I'd say, to charge about 60% to 80% of the battery. You ideally don't want to charge to 100% when you're going on those trips because the last bit takes a bit longer. But no, it's not really been that much of an inconvenience, to be honest. There are some routes that are not yet well covered with fast DC charging, but I don't think it's cost us much. In fact, it's been way more convenient. I really actually enjoy not going to petrol stations as often.
Yes.
It's going to the forecourt and buying snacks and stuff is still I feel like a fun and easy thing, but it's way better than having to stop next to the petrol pump.
Over the year, Hanno, have you noticed South Africa becoming more EV vehicle friendly? In other words, more charging points available in more places?
It's actually quite interesting, John. There was a bit of a slowdown in recent years in charging rollouts, and one of the big issues that the charging point operators have had to deal with is some of them moved quite early. I'm talking about companies like Grid Cars and Rubicon, and they sort of went like, build it and they will come. But also they had to consider, the financial implications, how long the return on investment is going to be, because these chargers are very expensive to build. So the demand needed to grow a little bit, and I think that is finally happening now. We see these big companies like BYD who are now selling hundreds of cars a month. They finally reported their sales figures, and I know the Dolphin Surf, which is South Africa's most affordable electric car, sold over 200 units last month, and it's still small numbers relative to what petrol sales do, but we're finally beginning to see a little bit of a tipping of the scale.
And just finally, I mean, if one was to do a calculation on car use over a year, that would presumably include some kind of amortization. I hope that's the right word, on the cost of the car that you bought. So if you were to look at a performance equivalent of the vehicle you bought. And by the way, we've got a listener asking us what exactly you did buy. So throw that into your answer if you will. But if you were to look at the performance equivalent, be it measured in space or whatever it might be, of the next fuel, the best price fuel alternative, what might that do to your numbers?
So that is a very interesting question and a good one. I would never recommend to anyone who's got a paid-off petrol or diesel car that has minimal, maintenance costs to buy an electric car when you don't have a bank loan on that car anymore. Like a paid-off car is one of the best things. And if it's reliable, always stick with it. I would advise people that are going out now and buying cars right now to look at electric options in the same price class, because quite often people like to compare. They look at my car. We've got a GWM Aura 03, and one of the big things, advantages we got it at a really good price second hand, because the depreciation on EVs is quite heavy. That's not great for someone that buys an EV new, but if you buy it used, it can be a really good opportunity. And so what often happens is people like to compare petrol car with electric car that is way faster, and it's got way more features. So they go like, oh, I can get a Polo or a they go for an Espresso for the same price, and you can't really compare those two. So I've found quite often in our analyses that the electric cars, for the price you pay for that car, a good example is the Volvo EX30, which is just way faster than any petrol car, or quicker than any petrol car in its price class. And it offers an extensive array of features that sort of actually makes it's better value for money. But that being said, like I've said now, don't go out and spend 100,000 rand more on an electric car if you were happy with a petrol car that's like cheaper, because it's going to take some time for you to make up that cost. In the long term, of course, the maintenance and stuff is also way cheaper on an EV if you've got that long-term vision. But be smart about the decisions. I just think people that go out to buy cars now, just look at the electric options. There's a bunch now under 500,000. We also see Geely. Some people know them as Geely, bringing in a new affordable option to compete with the BYD Dolphin Surf. I think people should keep an eye out for those cars, because they might often find those cars offer way better value and features at the same price point.
Thanks so much, Hanno Labuskaghni. You can read his article about his electric vehicle journey over a year on the website mybroadband.com. Maybe you've got a view on that. Maybe you have an experience to share, issues you may want to raise in that regard. Give us a call on that. 072 702 1702, 27 minutes to 4. DA electing new leaders over the weekend, but they're not quite done, as Mongezi Koko is about to explain. Good afternoon.
That's right, and Dr. John, a very good afternoon. With the DA having chosen a new federal leader yesterday, the focus shifts to who will lead the party in Parliament. The party will open the nominations process next week Monday for MPs to propose candidates, with an election expected at a caucus meeting on May 7th. In the interim, however, Hill Lewis will oversee the parliamentary caucus, while Chief Whip Jordan Michaelis, retains his position until a new parliamentary leader is chosen. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Not since Helen Zille was party leader and served as the Cape Town Mayor and then the Western Cape Premier has the DA had to elect a separate parliamentary leader. While the caucus rules stipulate that the process of filling a vacancy must start at the first ordinary meeting of the caucus chairperson Desiree van der Walt says with MPs currently on constituency duty and others scheduled to undertake oversight visits, more time has been allocated.
In order to make sure that all our members are back in the ordinary program of Parliament, as well as to give those candidates who are nominated a fair opportunity to campaign.
Van der Walt says the election will be run by the DA's federal office to ensure impartiality and fairness.
In the interim, of course, according to our caucus rules, our federal leader is acting as the parliamentary leader.
The 99 members from both the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces will be allowed to nominate potential candidates to lead the parliamentary caucus. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Gauteng Education MEC Lebogang Meile says strengthening and modernizing the province's education system remains a key priority. Speaking at a briefing in Sandton, Meile outlined plans to bring more technology into the classroom while also improving learners' critical thinking and problem-solving skills. The initiative forms part of the department's 2025 to 2030 education strategy, which aims to address youth unemployment and ongoing skill shortages in the country. Meile says the department is also boosting support in language and mathematics alongside expanding technical high schools across the province.
The aim of the technical high school strategy is to expand participation by promoting and strengthening technical high school for a changing and modernizing world by offering technical subjects that will guide its activities over the next 5 years to address the skills shortage and unemployment crisis amongst the youth in the country.
Let's turn to this now. 4 people have been arrested for illegal possession of West Coast rock lobster in separate incidents across Cape Town. On Saturday, marine law enforcement officers arrested a man after surveilling a premise that sold fish in the Bishop Lavis area. A search uncovered 2 bags containing 91 lobster tails. Yesterday, officers arrested 2 more suspects in the Parow area for possession of thousands of lobster tails without a permit. The City of Cape Town's Wayne Dayson says their final arrest was a 48-year-old in Hanover Park yesterday.
The male was then arrested and charged for possession of 3,747 West Coast rock lobster tails and 10 whole rock lobster without a permit in terms of the Marine and Living Resources Act.
And in Angola, 6 people have died following torrential rains at the weekend. The heavy downpours come a week after more than 40 people died. Footage from the public broadcaster showed entire neighborhoods submerged by the waters of the Calvo River and residents waist deep in water. Heavy rains are a regular occurrence in southern Africa during the summer. A partly cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Lows of between 14 and 15 degrees with highs of between 20 and 23.
Look out for a stationary vehicle on the N1 North at the Diepkloof interchange, slightly affecting flow of traffic, and be aware of slow-moving traffic on the M1 South from Glenhove Road to the Killarney Bends.
The top story in EWN, with the DA having chosen a new federal leader yesterday, the focus shifts to who will lead the party in Parliament.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
What about the issue of diversity? I know you don't have control over that as leaders because delegates are the ones that are voting and they vote for whoever they think is best in their eyes. But there's only one female in the entire top leadership structure in Siviwe Kwahube. It is a bit disappointing.
Well, you can call it disappointing. I call it the result of robust campaigning by all those that were there, and the most appealing would have come out. And unlike in other political parties, we don't then say we have reservations or we have seats reserved for this gender or this race or, people that are in this economic cluster. We then say everybody can then put up their name.
Solim Semanga, DA Federal Chairperson.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Stop and think. Will you survive the AI revolution or thrive? Regenesis students are thriving. 11 cutting-edge schools, 111 countries. World-class team of 1,111 with one mission: awakening your potential. Choose from law, business, technology, AI, health, economics, entrepreneurship, public management, skills academy, and digital Regenesis. Undergraduate, postgraduate, upskilling, customized corporate programs. The question isn't can you afford to enroll, it's can you afford not to? Enroll now. Regenesis.net. Achieve your dreams.
In the world of finance, manufacturing, and mining, automating business processes is a crucial factor in stimulating an organization's growth and bottom line. Zoe Projects and Consulting, a specialized process engineering and automation firm, offers comprehensive data and business systems analysis to optimize your company's processes, to save time, reduce costs, and better efficiency. Go to zoeprojects.co.za and get in touch with Zoe Projects and Consulting today.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our Boksburg showroom, shop A1, Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg. or go to sweetor.com today. Sweetor, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
When was the last time you felt something? Something that ignites your passion, gets your adrenaline pumping, and makes your heartbeat skip? When was the last time you fell in love? Introducing the new Alfa Romeo Junior with 280 horsepower and standard park assist. Learn to love again. Visit alfaromeo.co.za to book a test drive.
2026 is going to be a year of firsts when the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon happens for the first time in May.
Love it.
And continues to push to becoming Africa's first major. So, join Cape Town and the rest of the world when we rise again to run for gold and make history.
That's what makes this one so special.
By turning Africa's biggest marathon into Africa's first major. Putting Cape Town on the marathon stage with some of the greatest cities in the world, like London, Paris, Tokyo, Berlin.
It doesn't get better than this.
The Sanlam Cape Town Marathon, 24 May 2026.
Get ready.
The 2026 Sanlam Cape Town Marathon, proudly supported by 702. Go to capetownmarathon.com for more.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Dumela Ntate John and the 702 listeners, 702 family at large. I think the best thing here is to keep in mind that first things first, before he became a president, he was somebody else's father and grandfather, and we need to allow them that space. If we want to take ownership of, as a country, of those items, let's buy it off them. Let's buy them from selling them to, other countries. We have the first option to buy and we pay the top dollar for it, and then it remains in the country. Other than that, imagine if your kids were barred from inheriting anything from you because you're a national icon as far as radio is concerned. Would that be fair? No.
John, this is Talom coming to you live from Snake Road in Pinoni, Ekurhuleni. John, these Amazamas are cruising nicely here. We haven't seen soldiers since the president announced the deployment of soldiers and the arrival of soldiers. We saw them in Joburg, the site of Krugersdorp. But here in Ekurhuleni, especially Pinoni, things are happening.
Hi, John. Indeed, Terana. No pun intended. John, Two Oceans wasn't a mess the last year. I think you confusing it with the Sanlam. It wasn't a mess. We enjoyed it last year. It wasn't a mess at all, according to me. Yeah, I don't know other people, but last year it wasn't a mess. All I know is Sanlam was a mess. I ran last year. I didn't run yesterday or Saturday.
Yeah, no, you very validly point out. I'm just looking online though about Two Oceans 2025, and what I'm getting is 2025. The Two Oceans face significant controversy due to severe organizational failures, including permit breaches where over 20,000 runners participated in the half marathon, exceeding the permitted 17,000, which resulted in a shortage of medals and water, prompting the City of Cape Town to revoke sponsorship, the resignation of the board chair, and a high-profile legal dispute. So, yeah, that does sound to me like there was a problem. And the Two Oceans Marathon on their own Facebook page they in 2024 issued an unreserved apology. Anyway, there does seem to be evidence. I don't think I'm completely confused on that matter, but if anyone wants to engage on that, anyone have a trouble-free 2025, or are you aware of the problems that arose? And I'm most keen to hear, how did you go in 2026? 3:45.
EWN Sport.
Tolakele Mganga, 5-match T20 series. Proteas women up against India. We have squad news, I believe.
Absolutely, John. And that 15-player squad will be led by Captain Lara Valdvat, while Tebogo Machete receives her maiden national call-up. That's after a wrist injury ruled Karabo Miso out of the tour. Elise Marie Marks has been recalled as she replaces Sima Masabata Class, while Marazan Kap remains unavailable for selection as she continues her rehab from illness. Switching to football, where Miguel Cardoso has hailed Mamelodi Sundowns' mature performance as they claimed a 1-0 win over ES Tunis in their first leg of the semi-finals in the CAF Champions League. Brian Leon scored the winner in the 51st minute, while Gran Kekana was sent off.
I think that the team did well. The team understood the different moments of the game. Obviously that we made some corrections because coaches always want to make it better than it is. And we made the right corrections. We approached the game to where we had to play. This is a semi-final of a Champions League. It's not to play, to give a concert. It's to take results and make results and produce good games. That's what both teams wanted from today. So that's what the teams did.
The Premier League title race still has some life in it after Manchester City closed the gap on Arsenal to 6 points following their 3-0 win at Chelsea. That victory came after the Gunners suffered a surprise 2-1 defeat to Bournemouth to compound a difficult few weeks, having lost in the EFL Cup final to City as well as the FA Cup to Southampton. And reflecting on that Wembley success, Pep Guardiola admits it boosted their confidence and belief that they can still achieve something this season.
Win helps. Win the Carabao Cup against the best team so far, so of course helps. And to prove ourselves, that game helped us lift the title, but prove ourselves, okay, we can compete against them. And so far, before of that, apparently it doesn't look like, so that helps. The confidence, I said, okay, for now, for the future next seasons, okay, we can make face-to-face against a team like 2 or 3 seasons have been extraordinary. So, but of course, it's another game, completely different competitions.
And Rory McIlroy has warned there's more to come from him after he won the Masters by 1 stroke ahead of world number 1 Scottie Scheffler. It's his 6th major title as he becomes the 4th player to successfully defend the Augusta title. McIlroy has now tied Nick Faldo for the 2nd most major championships by a European player with 6.
Yeah, like today I tie Nick. So yeah, there's obviously good of so. But again, like it took me 10 years to win my 5th major, and then my 6th one's come pretty soon after it. So yeah, I'm not putting a number on it, but I certainly don't want to stop here.
Tolakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
13 minutes to 4, the latest from the roads. Khumotso Munyai, keeping an eye on things. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. For some odd reason, the roads are behaving at this hour, which is really strange, considering that it's also raining. But you can start looking out for those peak time delays as they begin to trickle in on the N3 South as you head towards Bedford View. Look out for a stationary vehicle on the N1 North. It is at the Deep Kloof interchange, slightly affecting flow of traffic. And traffic remains sluggish on the M1 South. This is as you approach the Killarney Bends. Be aware of faulty traffic lights and North Riding at the N1 in Malibongwe, in Midrand at Old Pretoria Road and Olifantsfontein Road, and lastly in Edenvale at Modderfontein and Van Riebeek. Likewise, if you come across any more traffic, please do send us a tweet on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Calling all small business owners. It's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Enter now on Prime Media Plus. Let's talk shop.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
11 minutes to 4 on 702 Drive. Just a quick one. Question from Tebogo. What car did Hanno Laboskachny buy when he decided? That's the mybroadband.com journalist who we spoke to a little bit earlier. If you missed it, pick up his interview on primemediaplus.com. He spoke of his experience of driving for a year an electric vehicle compared to a petrol vehicle, and he made savings, he says, of around 10,000 Rand and probably more. Anyway, the vehicle, just to give you the full details, a 2023 GWN Aura 03 GT. When he bought it, it had 13,000 kilometers on the clock. So that's as much detail as I think you need. Typical, I hope that helps. 11 minutes to 4.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
So Tolakele, in front of the Constitutional Court, a matter still to be heard, I think, is between the South African Heritage Resource Agency and members of the family of the late President Nelson Mandela. They are appealing earlier judgments in regard to the right of the family to sell certain things that were the possessions of South Africa's founding president. So we're just having a debate. I mean, to whom does all this stuff belong? And, so far the courts are ruling in favor of the family, but there are many, many items that are under consideration, some 4,000. The Heritage Resource Agency is saying they should become part of the country's estate and should not be available to be sold. What are your thoughts?
I get that he was our president, but at the end of the day, he was their father, grandfather, whatever role he played within the family. And I think it should always be up to them to decide which part of his name that they give to people, because we only knew him as one thing. But for the family, he played such a significant role, and they should be the ones that kind of decide how we remember him, if they want to leave little items that can be sold for other people to share, because it's their family member and also it's their name at the end of the day. The state can't decide how you decide on the Mandela name. It's the Mandelas that should be deciding that.
What though if he in his will was silent on where, for example, the jersey or all his mementos, where they should be left? And I don't know the details of his will.
Was he silent, or was he didn't think that far in terms of wanting to commodify his name and wanting to leave a monetary legacy that his family could build on? Maybe now that they're sitting here 10 years on and thinking, what other ways can we supplement the family income? Some people will rent a house. Then they're just like, well, the Mandela name is popular. Let's create a business off that. So I don't think in the world he even thought that far. It's just them now that they're a little bit older. Maybe some of them don't want to work. Now they're thinking, it's true. So now they're thinking, okay, this is another way that we can make money off our grandfather. You can sit there and say, I would judge them for wanting to still capitalize on someone that's passed away and has played such a significant role within society. But once again, it's their surname and they can do what they want with it.
Okay, good. We got lots of views on this and we're looking forward to debating it over the days and weeks to come. I'm not exactly sure what the court date for this hearing is, but as soon as we can find that out, I'll share that with you. And we'll follow, of course, the matter very, very closely indeed. 8 minutes to 4.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The 2026 Gauteng Investment Conference marked a significant step in positioning Gauteng as Africa's leading subnational investment destination. Following the conference, the focus now shifts to turning billions in investment commitments into real projects that create jobs and unlock growth. And so on 702 Drive with me, John Perlman, we are now in conversation with the Gauteng Department of Economic Development following a successful Gauteng Investment Conference. And for that, we welcome to the show MEC for Economic Development, Agriculture and Rural Development, Vuyiswa Ramukgopa. MEC, welcome and thanks very much for giving us your time. The conference announced 206 billion rand in new pledges. Often when this is announced, not just in Gauteng, but indeed at any investment conference, there are questions asked as to whether this is brand new investment as a result of the conference, or is the conference an aggregation of things that corporations and economic investors were planning to do anyway. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Dr. John, and good afternoon to all your listeners. This is a very important question that you are starting with. Maybe it's helpful if I begin with last year's investment conference, where we made an announcement that 312 billion rand had been pledged. And if we fast forward to this year, the 206 billion rand that we are now referring to is actually 206 billion rand of new money or new pledges. We have already started actually implementation on many of the projects that were announced in the previous investment conference. But what we are now talking about is new investment pledges, new projects, and new money that is going to be flowing into the Gauteng economy, creating jobs and fueling construction and development within the province.
What are the timelines on these things? Because I know every project would be different. Some of them are at different stages, and indeed they're different kinds of projects. Building a call center is very different, for example, to building a bridge or a factory. But in general, if you look at the 312 from last year, MEC, how many of them are actually either in the works or up and running? I mean, even if you just give us a broad sense.
Yeah, sure. So from the 312 billion that was pledged last year, we already are seeing around 81 billion rand worth of projects that are currently in construction or in production phase. So, and that equates to about 19 projects of the 30 that would have been pledged last year. So there has been actually quite significant momentum. That's in the region of a third of what was anticipated is already in production. And we're seeing a similar trend this year. You're correct in saying not every project has the same timeline because they also range across different industries. Some, are property development related, others relate to different infrastructure projects, and all the production and manufacturing facilities, etc. So they have different timelines, but anything from about 2 to 3 years kind of for completion is what we would be targeting when we target projects for the investment conference.
People, if they're in a hurry and they're keen to get going and they want to get a foothold in competitive markets here and further afield, will say, well, red tape, governance issues, Johannesburg, for example, has plenty of those, and we're not hearing the very best things about Tshwane at the Madlanga Commission. How are you in the role that you're playing, trying to deal with colleagues and partners in government and say, hey, guys, we really need to put a better face on this?
This is a massive issue, John, and it's one that we certainly have put at the front of the queue and at the top of the agenda. And a lot of this sits, quite frankly, in the domain of local government, whether it is planning approvals, your EIA certificates or other regulatory approvals. And so part of actually why it's so important to also identify these projects, ring fence them and make sure that they become priority projects, it gives us an ability to also provide, support to these projects, whether it's through regulatory fast tracking, pipelining through the one-stop shop or through other intergovernmental relations forums. And that's actually what's very helpful about identifying the projects. And then being able to then track them through end to end. And what we've really tried to strengthen is exactly this part, because we don't want to be the weakest link. Investors have met us halfway, and it's our job as government to meet them the other halfway. And so the work now is really about making sure that there's better coordination between the different spheres of government, and making sure that where we are seeing unnecessary or undue delays, that there's accountability to that effect. And that's where we're going to be putting our focus in the next 18 months.
You and virtually anybody involved in this process will have to deal with a new MEC for finance who comes from a political party, the EFF. If I look at the manifesto that they put out for the last election, one of their 7 pillars is nationalization of mines, banks and other strategic sectors of the economy without compensation. How are you going to navigate that, both on practical terms, but crucially in terms of perspective? Because a new investor, particularly someone from outside the country who may not necessarily have a sense of the intricacies of coalition politics in South Africa, will say, well, I've had a look at your key guys. I see one of them is from a party that takes that particular position. Is that your position? What would your answer be?
Well, I think fortunately, as the custodians of the Department of Economic Development, this falls under the domain of Rise Mzansi,
right?
Which, as a party, has a very different kind of positioning in terms of our plans for the economy and how we approach the development of this economy. And actually, I think we're in a very fortunate position in that we are now in the driver's seat of the growth and development of this province. So our position and our views as Rise Mzansi, I think, are well ventilated in terms of how we think we should be approaching the development of the province. And it's also important to note that, finance is, of course, important for fiscal management and disbursement
Yes.
of the fiscus and the budget. But when it comes to the actual driving the policy and the economic direction of South Africa's largest economy, that sits currently under our party, which is Rise Mzansi.
Vuyawa Ramogopa, thank you, joining us. She is the MEC for Economic Development, Agriculture and Rural Development. Gauteng is open for business. The Gauteng provincial government continues to drive investment and economic growth through platforms like the Gauteng Investment Conference, turning commitments into real impactful projects that create jobs and unlock opportunity. With billions in investment pledged, Gauteng remains Africa's economic powerhouse and a gateway to growth on the continent. Visit gic.ggda.co.za for more information. Gauteng Investment Conference, growing Gauteng together.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m.
Celestial Bodies returns to the stage after last year's successful run. It's a collaboration between Universe on Stage and Joburg Ballet. Celestial Bodies is a fusion of narration, music, science, and ballet. It's a unique performance that tells the story of our connection to the stars and to the universe. Universe on Stage is reshaping live entertainment, merging science, music, and storytelling that connects audiences to the wonders of the cosmos. There are 3 performances of Celestial Bodies at the UJ Theatre this weekend, 2 on Saturday in the afternoon and the evening, and 1 on Sunday. For more details and to book tickets, go to Quicket and search for Celestial Bodies.
Bar Black Sheep. Have you any wool? Yes, sir. More than 3 bags full. We think beyond today, tomorrow, more. Look up, look far ahead. We may choose to leave the herd. There's greener grass where fewer care to tread. Bar Black Sheep. Proof of what we do. Better for clients for over 20 years. Courage, we hold the course for you. Bar Black Sheep. If you want more wool, it takes black sheep thinking. Camissa Asset Management. Invest different. Camissa Asset Management is a licensed FSP.
You are not dreaming. You are repeating. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
This is EWN.
The case against Faninkosi postponed, and international relations says SA's exclusion from G20 activities by the US is a breach of the rules. A very good afternoon. I'm Monkey Zikoko. We begin with news just in. The bail application of disgraced police officer Faninkosi has been postponed to next week Monday. Nkosi made a formal bail application at the Pretoria North Magistrates Court today. Earlier, the state argued that if he is released on bail, his safety cannot be guaranteed. Now, he was arrested this month during a raid by the Madlanga task team after spending several days testifying at the commission. Nkosi has been charged for his handling of firearms and ammunition and the discovery of police dockets which had been missing at police stations. Last week, Nkosi told the court that he fears for his life while behind bars, which prompted the court to order that he be held in the hospital wing of the Hoshi Mampuru prison. Today, the state's advocate Tolwana Sekonyana argued that Nkosi is safer behind bars.
In the event that the inmate feels unsafe at the correctional facility, the state is able to arrange for an inmate to be kept at a more secure place where the inmate will be safe. The state is of the view that should the applicant be released on bail, his safety cannot be guaranteed. due to the sensitivity of information related to his testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
The Office of the Deputy President has welcomed the findings of the Public Protector, clearing Deputy President Paul Mashatile and Transport Minister Barbara Creasy of any wrongdoing related to the appointment of outgoing SAA CEO John Lamola. This follows an investigation into whether the two breached the Executive Ethics Code in the SAA CEO recruitment process after complaint was laid by the DA's Vidi Okamp. The probe also dismisses claims that Mashatile and Creasy conducted private interviews outside formal proceedings. Keith Koza speaks for the Deputy President.
According to the Public Protector, an investigation found no evidence that Deputy President Mashatile and Minister Creasy improperly interfered in the recruitment process or breached the Executive Ethics Code.
International Relations and Cooperation Director General Zane Dangle says being excluded from G20 activities by the United States is a breach of the rules. He says South Africa is a full member of the G20 and not just a guest, and its exclusion by the United States goes against the organization's own rules. Dangle was responding to reports on how Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has not been accredited to attend the upcoming meeting of the G20 finance ministers in Washington. Baba Londense reports.
Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's non-attendance at the G20 gathering of finance chiefs has been viewed as the deepening of tensions with the US. Both Godongwana and Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago won't be attending the meeting, despite the country being a full member. DIRCO DG Zane Dangle told the Cape Town Press Club earlier that South Africa should be represented after handing over the G20 presidency to the US.
So the fact that we are not part of the G20 is in fact in breach of the rules of the G20, because we are not a guest country in the G20. We are a full member of the G20. There's permanent guests in the G20.
Dango says the matter was raised at the last meeting of Sherpas, but it was not resolved. He says France will raise it again at the next meeting because it calls into question the status of the G20. Baba Londense, Eyewitness News, Cape Town.
And France and Britain will co-host a summit this week on a possible defensive naval mission for the Strait of Hormuz. The talks are intended to bring the two countries, as well as other nations willing to join in a peaceful multinational mission aimed at restoring freedom of navigation in the strait. US-Israeli strikes on Iran in late February sparked a region-wide war, bringing traffic through the strait to a near standstill, blocking a key route for global oil and gas shipments. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the continued closure of the route is deeply damaging global shipping and adding to cost of living pressures. Gold is trading at $4,734.69 an ounce. The rand is at 16.49 to the dollar, 22.19 to the pound, 19.30 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $101.82 a barrel.
In the traffic is heavily backed up on the N3 South heading towards Modderfontein Road, and there's a stationary vehicle on the N3 South at Van Buren Road slowing down traffic.
In US sport, Tebogo Macheke earns maiden Proteas women call-up for their T20 series against India. Miguel Cardoso hails mature Mamelodi Sundowns' performance in their semi-final win over Esperance. And Rory McIlroy targets more majors, having won back-to-back Masters titles.
A partly cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Johannesburg drops to an overnight low of 14 degrees, reaching a high of 20. Pretoria 15 and 23. Vereeniging at a low of 14, reaching a high of 21 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, it's news just in. The bail application of disgraced police officer Van Nkosi has been postponed to next week Monday.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
From the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between, it's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Enter now on Prime Media Plus. Let's talk shop.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 9 minutes past 4. Hope you've had a good Monday. We're going to make sure that you get home as smoothly as you possibly can. Traffic news coming up shortly. We're going to look at what the DA has come out with by way of leadership. Jordan Hill-Lewis, of course, the new party leader, but lots of other changes made as well. It looks like a very much younger DA leadership, but there's detail and not just a simple explanation like the one I've just suggested, that the leadership seems to be getting younger. What else, and crucially, what else needs to be done if they're going to get not just new leaders, but new voters and a new bedrock of support? We'll explore that with political strategist Ryan Kutsia shortly. I mentioned to you a little bit earlier that Sergeant Fani Nkosi, very much implicated in various things by the deliberations of the Madlanga Commission, and now facing a number of charges. His bail hearing has been postponed. That decision has just been made, as you heard a moment ago, from Mongezi Koko. We'll get a full update on what went down in the court when we talk to our EWN colleague Khumotso Mudise. That's coming up in a moment. 7:02 drive, it's 11 minutes past 4. Quite a few of you responding to things we were discussing earlier, electric vehicles and the money you might save by switching to electrical. I see some of you want to comment on that. And a few responses to the question we asked. Where should the memorabilia and the many treasures that form part of the collection of late President Nelson Mandela, should they go into museums? Do they belong to the nation? Or do they actually belong to his family? It's the subject of a constitutional court case, but some of you have expressed your views on that. Please keep those opinions coming if you'd like to add to that particular debate. 7:02 drive, it's 11 minutes past 4.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. This is Ngajisi here. I think on the issue of electric cars, for me, it doesn't seem like your fuel stations and all those people involved are doing anything to put up charging stations. Because, I mean, why would they? They're selling fuel, so they're really not going to put out such outlets. I think once people start seeing that at every station you can charge your car, there is going to be an uptick in people that want those cars. But at the moment, for me, I'm a salesman. I drive more than 40 kilometers a day. I drive over 100. And sometimes I have to drive to out of town. So the fact that if I buy an electric car, I'm not going to... Where am I going to charge if I'm going, to a place that's a bit far? So I think they need to first invest in the charging infrastructure, and then people will be interested, I would think.
Yeah, it's. I don't know what the footprint of electric vehicle charging stations is around the country. I don't think, are they made available at regular garages? I have absolutely no idea, but I would like to hear from you if you have an electric vehicle and you are making your way up and down the length and breadth of South Africa, or where are you finding a place to charge your vehicle? 13 minutes past 4.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, let's get the very latest traffic news now with Khumotso Munyai. Problems on the N3 South, sort of Eastgate-ish, or where are we dealing with this?
John, so if you are leaving Sandton heading towards Bedford View, traffic is heavily backed up on the N3 South as you head towards Modderfontein Road. So a little bit of patience, please, as you head into that direction. And traffic remains sluggish on the M1 South as you approach the Killarney Bends. It is due to an accident just before Glenhove Road, and delays continue from Jan Smarts to the Crown interchange. If you are heading towards Midrand, traffic is a bit slow on the N1 North between Allendale Road and Olifantsfontein. Let's see those 40 traffic lights that are also causing slow-moving traffic. You can start in Randburg at Malibongwe and CR Swart, in Kelvin at Old Pretoria and Woodmead, as well as in Edenvale at the N3 and Modderfontein Road. If you come across any other traffic on your side, please do send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Coming up later on the show, we're meeting one of the finalists in the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. Let's talk about a small business doing big things. We'll do that at 10 to 5.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So substantial changes in the DA leadership. This over the weekend, the DA Federal Congress has chosen Jordan Hill-Lewis as federal leader, in other words, leader of the party, but there have been other changes there as well. The crucial thing now, of course, is new faces at the top is one thing. What about winning over new support? Let's get a sense of what's been done and what remains to be done from my next guest, Ryan Coetzee, political strategist. Welcome to 702 Drive. Thanks for your time.
Hi, John. Thank you very much.
Let me just go through some of the other positions, and it really is all change. I think Federal Chair Solly Msimanga, Deputy Federal Chairs Siviwe Gwachube, Celia Brink, and Solly Malatsi, chairing the Federal Council, Ashor Saropen, who is currently the Deputy Minister of Finance. Federal Finance Chairs Mark Burke, who was very prominent in a lot of the budget negotiations and debates last year, and then Deputy Chairs of the Federal Council, JP Smith from the City of Cape Town, Thomas Walters and Cole Popham. So before we talk perhaps specifically about Jordan Hill-Lewis, your overall sense of all the changes I've sketched out, is there a pattern? And if so, what is that pattern?
Yes, John, look, I think there's very clearly a pattern. There are two parts to it. These new leaders are by and large under 45 years of age. I mean, there's been a generational shift, and a new generation of leaders has taken charge of these federal positions. So that's one thing that's happened in quite a striking way. I think of the people you mentioned, only two of them are over 45 years of age. But secondly, I think there are also a bunch of people who've got a slightly different take on how to take the Democratic Alliance forward. So it's not just about people being young, but I think these folk have got a very clear idea about how to convince more South Africans to vote for the DA, and I think that is really the big story, because that's what matters in the end.
One of the things that strikes me as tricky going forward, though, is that some of these people, and most notably Jordan Hill-Lewis in the position he holds as Executive Mayor of Cape Town, are actually themselves governing. Others, like Celia Brink, have held that position in the city of Tshwane, for example. And it's one thing to convince voters by what you say you'll do, but there's the other element of voters judging you by what you are already doing. And not everything you do when you actually get to govern makes you popular. Is there a concern, if we use Cape Town as an example of what I'm just saying, Mr. Coetzee, where, for example, rates increases and so on, which will be used, I would think, at least in part for redress in the city of Cape Town, are none too popular with people who previously voted DA?
Well, I think one thing about becoming a party of government, and the DA is now very much a party of government, is that you've got to make hard choices with limited resources, and you've got to become good. You've got to become good at explaining what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I think, the fact that people like Jordan, Solly Malatsi, Siviwe, Celias and others have been in and are in government and have to make those choices means that they are able to do the job of explaining to people what the DA is doing and why it's doing it. But, you're not wrong. Of course, it's tough being in government. Like I say, the choices don't come with limitless resources. There are budgets. There's a limit to what you can do. There's an enormous amount of a need in South Africa with the poverty, unemployment situation that we confront. And so, but this is the deal. You want to be a part of government. Jordan made it very clear, as others did at this conference, that the DA wants to be the biggest party in South Africa at the next election, potentially even as soon as that. So that's fine as an ambition, but it comes with consequences, and those consequences are you need to think like a governing party, behave like one, talk to people like one, and make tough decisions like one.
I mean, we spoke before as a preview of the various election races, Mr. Coetzee, and the one thing that was made very clear by yourself, but I think the numbers tell us that anyway, that margins are going to be incredibly fine. Now, if you gain some voters amongst black and coloured and Indian voters, for example, but then you lose significant numbers of voters, let's say in Cape Town, to whoever, because people really don't appreciate what you're doing on the fault line of transformation and redress. how do you see the party growing if it is going to be a win some, lose some?
So I don't think that's the way that either Jordan or the leadership will think about it.
Okay.
I think his big message in his speech yesterday was that the DA will be a party for everyone. The DA will not get involved in choosing between communities in South Africa, but will govern in a way that works for everyone. So let's use the example of Cape Town. Rates in Cape Town are also a function of property prices. Property prices have gone up because Cape Town is investable and because enormous amounts of people are moving into Cape Town. So it's actually a challenge, but it's a challenge of success. There might be some people in Cape Town who are very unhappy about the fact that some of their rates bills are used to help poorer people or to build infrastructure in areas that they don't live in. But I think the vast majority of people in Cape Town who are ratepayers and who pay significant amounts in rates, I think they understand that what they're getting in return is a city that functions, and no city can function unless it functions for everyone. You can't have a situation where you've got a nice house and a nice car and a big wall, and out there a whole lot of people are living in abject poverty, because those people aren't going to stay out there, and it's going to become a problem for you. So even if whatever your views on the morality of it, it's in everybody's interest in South Africa that the country works for everybody in South Africa. And I think that's what Jordan was trying to say very clearly yesterday. South Africa doesn't work unless it works for everyone.
Yes. Yeah, hard to do, though, because, people may say, well, I do like this idea, but I've just looked at my bank balance and I'm starting to wear a little thin on the edges. But that will play out. Final question on another potential fault line in DA's support. What, if anything, Mr. Coetzee, does the choice of leaders say about where the DA will position itself in regard to the government of national unity? Is it pretty much full steam ahead with where the DA is now? Or was there anything in the Congress that suggested any kind of reconsideration?
No, so look, Jordan had a big section on this in his speech. He is very clear that, we were right to go into the GNU as the Democratic Alliance. And not least because the alternative is really bad for South Africa. But he was equally clear that the DA has to have the space and the scope to be very clear when it disagrees with the decisions of the government, which is fine. Look, in an environment where nobody has a majority, you can't be happy all the time. You can't get everything you want. And that's true of the DA, but it's also true of the ANC. And I think a mature approach to government is to accept that and to be honest with people about when there are differences. And I think that's what he said we should do in the GNU, but he was equally very clear that being in the GNU is the right thing for South Africa and that the DA made the right decision to go into it.
Thanks very much, Ryan Coetzee, political strategist. If you follow politics closely and you want to express a view, give us a call on 011 883 0702 if you're a member of the DA and follow the election from that perspective and the other deliberations and speeches at the Congress. You may want to give us your perspective as well. Either way, call us 072 702 1702.
Drive Home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, let's focus our attention now on the courts and in particular the court matter taking place out in Pretoria, the Pretoria North Magistrates Court to be precise. Sergeant Fani Nkosi has declared that all charges against him are based on a very, very weak case in the view of his counsel. He faces a number of charges, including defeating the ends of justice, possession of illegal ammunition and explosives, and theft. And it was a continuation of his bail hearing today, not done and dusted. They will gather in the court again on Monday. But Khomotso Modise was there for what was an extended session. And of course, the very interesting thing when you have bail hearings is that you get to find out something about the details of the state's case. Khomotso, very good afternoon to you. So, what have we learned about the case against Sergeant Fani Nkosi from what was heard in the bail application? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John. So we've learned quite a bit this afternoon. And I mean, when we walked in this morning, we really only had an indication of the charges that Nkosi was facing. And those charges include defeating the ends of justice, as well as contravening the Firearms Protection Act, as well as his handling of ammunition. This is all linked to what was found at his home during the raid earlier this month. And so we've heard the state really arguing around how he was found with firearms scattered around his property, essentially one in his mattress, another under his bed, another in his car, 4 others in a safe that the state insists was not correctly mounted. Now, I must say that at the heart of this case is really the issue around dockets, and I think that this is where there's more or greater seriousness in the charges against Nkosi. Nkosi was found with 6 dockets at his home, John, during the raid. And of those 6 dockets, 4 were originals. And we heard today in court that one of those dockets dates back to 2016.
Goodness.
It's a robbery matter. And it seems, according to the state, that Nkosi had been sitting on these dockets. He had stolen some of these dockets from the police stations, the one in Musina and a couple of others in Johannesburg as well. And he had stored those dockets. And the state believes that this was in an attempt to cause these cases to stall. Now, many of these cases have all been registered on police systems as closed because the dockets were missing, essentially, and police couldn't continue with their investigations. And I think that's really the most serious charges against Nkosi, the fact that he seems to have been working with alleged or suspected criminals, people that were charged for cases including cash and transit heists, as well as robberies of personnel from British American Tobacco. And he'd taken those dockets, according to the state, and he decided to store them so that the cases do not progress.
So, I mean, given that defeating the ends of justice is front and center amongst the charges, Kgomoso, did his counsel offer any explanation or anything in mitigation? Because my understanding, one of the issues on the table when bail is being considered is exactly that. That, you know, the person may then go out and interfere with the process of the case.
Absolutely. You know, the concern that was raised by the state, John, is the fact that if he was able to steal so many of the dockets, to influence the cases in this way, the state fears that he's been working with some police officers who are not currently arrested and before the courts. But coming to Nkosi's legal representatives, it was interesting for me to hear how in the days running up, or in the previous application, on the first court appearance, John, they had really highlighted the fact that the dockets were copies and not necessarily originals. But now the state has brought or has submitted that most of the dockets were actually originals. And Nkosi's lawyers have really just denied the fact that there was any wrongdoing. In his initial submissions that he made, this was Advocate Dlali on behalf of Nkosi, he said they wouldn't be going much into the dockets because they are intelligence matters. However, I do think now that they will be pushed to give some sort of a reason for these dockets and how these dockets ended up with Nkosi, yes, now that the state has laid so much bare. But the court application has not been completed yet. It has had to be postponed, John, to next week.
Thanks so much, Kgomoso Modise, with an update on what's happening in the Pretoria North Magistrates Court, 28 minutes past 4.
EWN Business.
Tough day on the markets at the start of what could be a pretty tough week, but let's find out what's happened so far. And welcome Moteo Juaripe with the very latest. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. Well, so far, so bad. The U.S. starting to block the key oil strait of Hormuz. The U.S. starting that blocking of ships from entering or exiting the Strait of Hormuz. The move is an attempt to increase pressure on Iran to reopen the key oil route after peace negotiations collapsed this past weekend. Now, President Donald Trump has slammed Iran for refusing to give up its nuclear ambitions and accused Tehran of world extortion. Now, the U.S. blockade applies to any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz from Iranian ports, meaning countries like the UAE, Kuwait, and Qatar are also exempt from the U.S. blockade specifically. But stocks are playing out in a bad way. Currently, European stocks beginning the week in negative territory. U.S. stocks doing the same. The FTSE, the CAC in France, the DAX, and the Stocks 300 in Europe all down this afternoon. Travel travel and leisure stocks also are falling quite much this afternoon. Wizz Air, EasyJet and Lufthansa in Europe all down by more than 4% this afternoon, as a lot of those companies, especially aviation ones, worry about the supply of jet fuel to Europe. Stocks in the US also following suit. The S&P 500 opening flat at around 3 o'clock our time. The JSE at the current moment, it's a bloodbath. The oil share down 733 points. Industrials down by close to 0.5%. Banking stocks down by close to 1%, with mining shares in negative territory. It's not so good for the rand as well. 16 rand 49 against the US dollar, down by 0.5% against the dollar. 19 rand 29 against the euro, and 22 rand 17 cents against the British pound. Price of gold, $4,721 an ounce. It's down 0.5%. Platinum is worse off, down 1% at $2,027. Brent crude still up 6.5% this afternoon at exactly $100 a barrel. More in about an hour.
Thanks very much, Moteo Juaripe, keeping an eye on some choppy markets out there. He's back a little later. 5:25, you can expect his update. It's 4:30 now. Let's get the latest news and say good afternoon once again to Mongezi Koko.
Thanks, Ndata John. A very good afternoon. The trial of former Umkhonto weSizwe Party MP Duduzile Zuma Sambudla has been postponed to tomorrow. A social media expert was back in the witness stand today, spending most of the day being cross-examined. Now, Zuma Sambudla is charged with incitement to commit public violence as well as terrorism-related charges linked to the July 2021 unrest, which erupted after the arrest of her father, former President Jacob Zuma. Now, at least 350 people died across the country, along with widespread looting and destruction during the unrest. Nhlanhla Mabaso was in court.
Duduzile Zuma Sambudla is back in the dock for her incitement case for allegedly fueling the 2021 July riots. The state believes she used her social media platform X, Twitter at the time, to encourage looters. Social media expert Emma Sadlia is being cross-examined.
In nowhere in my report, my lord, did I say that the phrase "we see you" used by the accused is always attached to violence. It's always used as a recognition, admiration, gratitude, identifier.
Zuma Sambudla's party has labelled the case a political witch hunt. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
The Good Party, Rise Mzansi and Build One South Africa will no longer contest the polls under one umbrella, at least for now. Now, the parties announced in October last year their decision to consolidate under the banner Unite for Change and to contest elections under one party. The parties announced at the weekend that the move has now been abandoned before this year's local government elections. Babalo Ndenza reports.
Unite for Change was launched in October last year and listed its key goals for fixing municipalities, like selecting ethical leadership and professionalizing local government. The Unite for Change National Leaders Council, which includes the three-party leaders Patricia de Lille, Songezo Zibi, and Musi Maimane, says over the past 5 months, the parties have taken significant steps towards this goal while preparing for elections. They say while significant ground has been covered in this regard, it has become clear that merging three parties, their structures and activists needs more time due to its intensity and complexity. The parties had also opened their online selection process for 2026 candidates. The parties have now determined that the best option is to contest the 2026 local elections individually and pursue consolidation afterwards. Babalo Ndenza, Eyewitness News.
In the Western Cape, 2 people have been killed and 4 others wounded in a shooting in Delft. The attack reportedly happened on Friday night, shortly before 11 p.m. When police responded to the scene, they found the bodies of a 38-year-old woman and a 12-year-old boy. 2 men and 2 women aged between 19 and 61 were also wounded in the shooting. This latest mass shooting comes after more than 40 people were killed in the past 2 weeks since the deployment of Operation Prosper. Police spokesperson Wesley Twigg.
According to reports, an unknown man knocked on the door, and when the door was opened, the suspect opened fire on the victims and fled the scene. The motive for the attack is yet to be determined.
And in Angola, 6 people have died following torrential rains at the weekend. The heavy downpours come a week after more than 40 people died. Footage from the public broadcaster showed entire neighborhoods submerged by waters of the Kankovo River and residents waist deep in the water. Heavy rains are a regular occurrence in southern Africa during the summer. A partly cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Lows of between 14 and 15, with highs of between 20 and 23.
In the traffic, if you're heading to Midrand, there's traffic pressure on the N1 North between Allendale Road and Olifantsfontein. And in Paulshof, anticipate some peak time delays on the N1 South between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive.
The top story in EWN, the trial of former Umkhonto weSizwe Party MP Duduzile Zuma Sambudla has been postponed to tomorrow.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection, because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring ABSA. Their Group Chief Marketing and Corporate Affairs Officer, Sydney Mbele, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. And join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
Sorry I'm late, Sevi. Had to fetch my lucky putter. No worries, let's go. We're teeing off in an hour. Great. We're taking your car. Can't. It's already taken. What do you mean taken? It was right here when I left a few minutes ago. I sold it to WeBuy Cars and made a whole lot of green. Birdie told me that's the best way to sell your car. Not only the best way, it's the fair way. Kom ons vat die pad.
Don't be doof, be savvy. We buy cars, geared for a fast sale, geared for you.
We at Monument Dental are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online. 702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
I didn't wait to get my electric car. I've been owning one for almost 2 years now. I charge it at home on solar during the day. I'm fortunate enough to be able to work from home most days. But even if I wasn't able to do that, my car has a range of over 400 kilometers. I would just charge overnight and then I'm ready for the next day at home. There's a bit of a mindset change where you don't need to go to a station to charge your car unless you're traveling long distance. Otherwise, you just charge at home. Even on Eskom, it's much cheaper than petrol.
Uncle John, I just want to check whose responsibility is that to put those chargers for electric cars at the filling stations or at whatever spots, because filling stations are independently owned, and I just want to know whose responsibility is that is, if they are not going to benefit anything out of this, what will be their reason to put those chargers at their filling stations? John Pretoria.
Hi, John. With regards to electric charging stations, you can travel from here to Cape Town and you'll be able to charge your vehicle. If you can Google it, but there's a specific website where you can check where to charge your vehicle. There is power charging stations going up all over South Africa, malls and whatever. You drive into a mall in the Pretoria area, I know specifically you can go to Menlyn Main, Menlyn Mall. All of these places has charging stations that you can park your vehicle, and while you do your shopping, you can charge. But even if you drive from here to Durban, along the route you'll get the charging stations. From here to Cape Town, you'll get it.
Yeah, thanks. Good question. I mean, whose responsibility is it? My understanding is it's the market. And I think that's very, very good. Give us a call on that on 011 883 0702 if I have missed out on something. It's coming up now for 21 minutes to 5 o'clock.
EWN Sport.
Tola Kelly Mganga, the latest from the world of sport, please. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, John. And Kaizer Chiefs' push for CAF Confed Cup qualification received a boost following their 2-0 win over TS Galaxy in the Betway Premiership yesterday. The Glamour Boys cemented third spot with a fourth win in a row, while they condemned the Rockets to a ninth league game without a win. Along with successive 3 points, Cedric Kazer's Chargers have now scored 8 goals in their last 4 games.
We have a game model that we've been working on, the ways to get inside the box, the ways to create 2v1s, the ways to overload either side of the field. I believe that the good thing is now we understand each other better between players, and that gives more, more opportunities to score goals.
Roberto De Zerbi believes that Tottenham Hotspur need to win just one game to lift morale and give their Premier League survival hopes a boost. Their woes deepened with a 1-0 defeat at Sunderland as the Italian lost his first game in charge. Spurs remain without a league win since December and face the possibility of a first relegation from the English top flight since 1977.
I know them as a guy and as a players, and for that I'm positive. Not because we are Tottenham or because I have to do positive. No, they have the quality enough to win one game, and the target now, the closer target is to win one game, because if we win a game, we can see everything in different way.
Marie-Louise Etta has become the first female head coach in the men's top 5 European leagues after being announced as Union Berlin's new boss. Etta has agreed to take over as coach of the women's team next season, but now has 5 games to secure the men's Bundesliga survival after agreeing an interim role. In 2023, she became the first woman to be an assistant coach in the Bundesliga and across the top 5 divisions of Europe's Big 5 leagues. And Cricket South Africa have granted all-rounder Bayer Swanepoel a no-objection certificate to play in the county championship that's having parted ways with the Lions. He signed for Worcestershire but missed the opening games of the season against Derbyshire and Middlesex while awaiting a clearance from CSA. Swanepoel is still expected to face disciplinary action from his departure from the One Day Cup final last month. That's where he left the field during the 43rd over to catch a flight to England as the Lions were forced to complete the match with just 10 players and went on to lose the final to the Titans. Tola Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, let's find out what's happening out on the roads. Khumotso Munyai has keeping an eye on things for us.
Thank you so much, John. We'll start on the M1 South. Traffic is heavily congested as you approach the Killarney bends. I'm assuming it's due to that earlier accident that happened, but you can confirm for me. And delays continue further along from Jan Smarts to the Crown interchange. While in the opposite direction, traffic is also heavily backed up on the M1 North. This is from Collet Drive to the Batlu interchange. If you are leaving Sandton heading towards Midrand, there's traffic pressure on the N1 North between Allendale Road and Olifantsfontein. And in Polshof, anticipate those peak time delays on the N1 South between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive. Likewise, if you come across any more traffic, please do send us a voice note on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Calling all small business owners. It's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Enter now on Prime Media Plus. Let's talk shop.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive. So we have been talking about all sorts of things in regard to the weekend, in regard to the Two Oceans Marathon. Over the last few days, a couple of weeks actually, we just had lots and lots of people staying with us in different ways. And I've done a huge amount of loading of dishwashers. And I was just saying that I actually quite enjoy it. I mean, I can't say I'd rather load the dishwasher than, watch football on TV or something else. But as chores go, it's one I actually quite like. And what I like about it is the jigsaw puzzle, that you want to get as much as you possibly can in without, putting them in ways where they don't get properly washed. And it led to a conversation. Is there a household chore that you actually quite like? And I'm wondering, Tolakele Mganga, if there is a household chore that you actually quite like.
Maybe doing the dishes. I'm really
You're
silent. No, honestly, no, John. It's just
There's some you dislike less.
I've suffered enough as a child. There's no trying. No. Maybe the dishes, but that's only if I have a lot on my mind. It's just very helpful. It's the way my thought process also works, like one dish at a time, and then eventually everything is clean. But even that, not really. No,
okay.
Really.
No, so there's some that you don't dislike as much, but none that you like. How about you, Refuwe Litsua, producing the show this week alongside Jonathan Fairbairn? Tasks you like?
Good afternoon, John, and to the rest of the 702 family. I absolutely love doing laundry, John. I can visit you and ask, John, do you mind if I do your laundry for you? So I can do hand wash, I can do the machine. There's just something about getting laundry done that's healing for me, honestly. Even if it's at midnight, I can do laundry, John.
Okay. All right. So we got laundry, yes. Loading the dishwasher, yes. Nothing with a big yes from Tolakele Khomotso. Tasks you like, if any?
Not much, but I love sweeping the yard. There's just something, especially in the morning or late afternoon when it's quiet. I put my headphones on and I listen to music and I sweep and I dance while I sweep. Oh, we have so much fun.
Do you like the noise of the sweeping, or is it the visuals of whatever it is you sweeping getting moved out the way?
I mean, definitely not the visuals. I think it's quality time with myself,
Yes.
Yeah, I think I like that I get to have some downtime with myself and the broom.
Household tasks that are meditative or relaxing or therapeutic, either in the doing of them or in the getting of them done, whichever it might be. Give us a call on that, 011 883 0702. That's where you reach us, 011 883 0702. If you want to call us on this or anything else as well. 14 minutes to 5.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
If the Blue Party aims to be the largest in the land, whether it gets an outright majority and governs on its own or as the senior partner in a coalition, are we ready for President Jordan Hill-Lewis?
While Jordan Hill-Lewis is a very interesting character, I doubt that South Africa is going to vote for its first white president in 2029. We are not there yet. We're seeing that the DA doesn't quite understand diversity and its implications because they only have one woman and the rest of the leadership is men. And I think this DA's insistence on colorblindness is its biggest Achilles heel in a country that comes from a history where everything was defined by race.
Asanda Mwasheng, a political analyst.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
The water crisis in South Africa is no secret, but on the 19th of April, a concert for water at Nairoq's Sculpture Park will reflect on the urgencies and shared entanglements which connect and sustain us through water, essential for life. Musically created by DJ Bob, artists present a program selected and composed for the concert, including Paul Hanmer, Thandi Ntuli, Yonela Mnana, and others, with a resident grand piano in the Nairoq's gardens. Limited tickets are available from nairoqsarts.com. Nairoq's is a private not-for-profit foundation to benefit the arts. All income is used to maintain the grounds, the artist residency program, and artist support.
That's Kefense, before she got naked. Kefense's premium went up twice last year, and she was more confused than when her ex said, "I need to find myself," and then found somebody else. So Kefense got naked. She got comprehensive car insurance and a way lower premium in seconds on the Naked app. Good for you, Kefense. Get a car and home insurance quote now at naked.insure and see how much you can save when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
In business, missed deliveries cost more than money.
Go Girl Logistics is South Africa's 100% black female-owned Level 1 Triple BEE powerhouse, delivering secure, time-sensitive transport for parcels, cold chain cargo, and compliance waste. With DG trained drivers, cold chain certification, national reach, and real-time tracking, every load is handled professionally, safely, and on time. Go Girl Logistics, power beyond cargo. Visit gogirl-logistics.com.
From the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between. It's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Enter now on Prime Media Plus. Let's talk shop.
.702 Drive. It's 11 minutes now to 5 o'clock.
The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. This conversation is just the beginning.
Small business owners speak a language of their own, and it's a language MTN Business and 702 understand very well. That's why we're celebrating SMEs who walk that entrepreneurial talk in the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. We're in search of small businesses that prove big things can grow from bold ideas. We ask you to nominate your business or one you know on primemediaplus.com. Now it's time to meet one of our finalists to find out about their journey so far and discover what it took to make them stand out in the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. Ever feel like running your business means doing everything except the thing you're actually good at? Like your clients love you, but when it comes to writing reports, emails, or even just organizing meetings, suddenly it's stress. Well, with MTN Business's AI solutions, you can easily research, write, edit, and manage your work so you can sound professional, stay organized, and save time. Let's talk shop. Click on mtn.co.za/business or visit an MTN store today. MTN Business, Africa's leading enabler of connectivity and converged solutions. So let's meet then one of our finalists. And today we're talking travel. In particular, we're talking about a company called Travel with Africa. And the person who has created the business and is driving it forward right now is in the studio with me, right here at 702 Africa. Mdolomba, welcome to 702 Drive. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you very much, John, and hello to everyone at home.
So you've just celebrated your 7th birthday, and you celebrated it by doing something that you like doing. You went camping. Tell us, first of all, why you did that, but secondly, what part does organizing camping trips form in the Travel with Africa mix?
Okay, so we recently had our 7th birthday, and we went camping in the Free State in Parys, and we had a large group of people join us. And the reason we did that is because we wanted to have a trip that's going to be accessible to a lot of our return clients, because we have a lot of those. And we wanted it to be not too far from Johannesburg, very accessible, and where people can join us. And we had a very wonderful trip. A lot of people came through, had a group of about 30 people that joined. So
That's
it was
plenty.
a wonderful camp out in a very good, beautiful establishment.
What got you into setting up your own travel business? Was it that you traveled, for example, couldn't always find what you wanted? Share with us your origin story.
So I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to study in China, and over there I started going backpacking with a few friends in university. So I got exposed to Southeast Asia, and then I would be sharing all of those experiences on social media, Instagram. And I started getting a lot of people asking me, hey, how do we do this? How do we join you? And then long story short, a couple of years later, I had a company where I now help people and enable them to travel to all these wonderful, amazing places.
What are you doing that makes you stand out, do you think? Because many, many years ago, everybody went to a travel agent because there wasn't the internet. Now you're online, but you're also competing with a mindset that says, you know what, I'm going to sort this out myself, book my own flights. I'll go on booking.com and find accommodation. Clearly, there's a market for what you're offering, but what's drawing that market to your business?
So I think anybody can book a holiday. Anyone can go on the internet and book a flight, book a hotel, but a lot of people have never been to places where we've been to. And I think that's one of the advantages that we have, in that somebody can book with us and rely on the networks and all the connections that we've built up over time. And they get to travel in a really simple way using our networks on the ground, etc. So we make it really simple for you, in that you are not motivated to go on the internet and find information, because we make it simple for you, and you just come and you travel with us instead.
We spoke about a group right at the beginning when you spoke about your celebration camping trip to Paris. And just some notes I've been given is you work a lot with solo travelers, and you put groups together. Tell us about the thinking that goes into that, because it sounds great, but if you're all on a bus traveling somewhere and you think, okay, the group mix might be a little bit off balance here. How does that work out?
So we actually do limit our group trips. So the birthday trip was actually a special one where we were allowed to have more than usual. So ordinarily we'd have about 10 people on our trips. And the kind of people that we attract are really some really cool people, because as a solo traveler, in order for you to go on a trip with people that you don't know, it also requires a certain kind of personality type. And those are the kind of people that we get to attract. So you'll come on our trips and you'll meet people from all kinds of directions, backgrounds, and you find that you have so much in common with them that you otherwise wouldn't have established unless you were on the trip itself. So people come on the trip, and after the trips they become friends, and they continue with all kinds of connections which are not necessarily travel related.
Somebody is interested in what you're doing, Africa, and they get in touch with you and they say, I don't have any place in mind. Africa, take me to your favorite place. Take me on your favorite trip. Do you have an answer for that, or would you have to go, I'll get back to you?
We have a lot of places that we go to, but one place that stands out in particular for me is Laos. So Laos, it's a country near Thailand, between Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, China. It is probably what Thailand was 20 years ago before tourism took over. So Laos it's beautiful. It's I don't want to say backward, but it's still in its raw.
Still simple, hey?
Exactly. That's the word I'm looking for. So it's still in its raw. And now, if it's not on your bucket list, you have to travel to Laos. It doesn't have any beaches, but all the other natural beauty of the nature makes up for what it doesn't have.
One of the great things about a business growing is, well, the business is growing. But one of the downsides, I would guess, but you'll tell me if I'm wrong, is that the stuff you love doing, meet everybody at the airport, show people things that you love, work on the energy of a group and make sure that's all fine. But increasingly, I would think you've got to manage a growing business and make sure that the people you're delegating are up to skill, that the cash flow and all of that is in place. How's that working out for you? Because sometimes, people love cooking, but then they start a change of restaurants, and in fact, they're more busy with the books than the pots.
I think, as with anything that you do, it's going to come with its own challenges. And I think one of the biggest things lies in your ability to sort of manage and have your hands in different pots at the same time.
Right.
So I think that's where the recipe really lies in just making sure that you are doing a lot at once, but making sure all of that does actually get accomplished. So just make sure that you've got your eye on the ball at all times.
So you're still getting stamps in your passport?
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
We just got back from Thailand, going to Mozambique on Thursday. So it doesn't stop.
Yeah, it sounds like a holiday. I imagine that it's a huge amount of work, but driven by the passion that obviously in turn gets fueled by the trips that you've just described. I wish we could talk more. You're giving me absolute, travel fever, but it will have to wait. Check them out. Travel with Africa is the brainchild of Africa Mdolomba. He's got interesting ideas about where you can go, how you can go, and crucially, who you can go there with. And he's one of the finalists in the 702 MTN Small Business Awards Africa. Thank you, and the very best of luck to you in the awards, but also in your business. And do, everybody, listen to 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa tomorrow. You'll get to meet another finalist. And we're not done yet. You can still nominate a local small business that's doing big things. Go to primemediaplus.com to submit your nomination. T-Seas and more on primemediaplus.com.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Okay, now we have been talking about electric vehicles, and we asked people if they've had some experience traveling up and down South Africa and looking for charging stations. Winston's calling from Rudaport. And Winston, I believe you've been involved with EVs for a long, long time. You run a company called Grid Cars out in Muldersdrift. What's your experience? Is it becoming easier and easier to go far and wide if you're going electric?
Absolutely. We put the first highway chargers in 2015.
Okay.
And I mean, we see trips daily that people are driving down to Durban, down to Cape Town, etc. So the network certainly gets used. As we look today, we see probably double this year to what we saw last year the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting. And in terms of the commercial incentive for people who are putting in charging stations, is it a potential revenue stream for either a filling station or another entity to make that an add-on? Or is it the vehicle sellers and manufacturers who are getting behind the building of the infrastructure?
So it's a bit of a mix. So there has been a big push from a lot of the OEMs. BMW, Jaguar have put quite a big effort in, as well as Audi and things like that. So they have tried to encourage that in the beginning. The business of charging, I think it's going to be driven commercially long term. And obviously at this stage, because as a country we only have about 7,000 electric vehicles on the ground, the growth is slower than anticipated.
Yes.
You really need to be up at around 100,000 vehicles before the momentum really starts getting going. So we are going to see that happen over the next few years, that we'll see a big drive in the momentum. But there are a few business models. So one is sites would make their sites available to a company like ourselves. So
right.
They can give us a call or go to our website, and ultimately we would then look to put in a charger down at their site, and we'd pay them essentially back for the electricity and have some sort of small margin or small profit share that we have with them.
Thanks so much, Winston, calling us from his company, Grid Cars. They've been doing EVs and the infrastructure that those vehicles require since 2015. 702 Drive, it's time for the news.
This is EWN.
Suleiman Karim's family requests privacy amid hospitalization, and Trump's Monday deadline to block the Strait of Hormuz passes. A very good afternoon. I'm Mogi Zikoko. The family of Northwest businessman and ANC affiliate Suleiman Karim has confirmed that he's been admitted to a Johannesburg hospital. The circumstances of his hospitalization remain unclear at this stage, following earlier reports that he suffered a suspected heart attack at the gym this morning. Karim was due to return to the Madlanga Commission to continue his testimony this week after a previous appearance last month. Nkosikhona Malingamnisi reports.
Suleiman Karim was compelled to testify publicly before the Madlanga Commission in March after a failed court bid to give evidence in private. He argued that threats to his life and family justified closed proceedings, but the commission ruled that transparency must prevail. Karim's testimony is central to the commission's investigation into alleged corruption and tender manipulation. He is accused of trying to influence Police Minister on special leave Senzo Mchunu to revive a scrapped 360 million rand SAPS tender linked to Medicare 24, owned by alleged cartel member Vusumuzi Kat Matlala. The inquiry is also probing claims that Karim channeled payments through a company registered in the name of alleged tender fraudster Hangwani Maumela's sister to help Maumela evade a SARS preservation order, raising possible money laundering concerns. Meanwhile, Karim is understood to be receiving treatment at Netcare Mill Park Hospital, with his family requesting privacy during this time. Eyewitness News.
The bail application of disgraced accused police officer Fani Nkosi has been postponed to next week Monday. Nkosi made a formal bail application at the Pretoria North Magistrates Court today. Earlier, the state argued that if he is released on bail, his safety cannot be guaranteed. He was arrested this month during a raid by the Madlanga task team after spending several days testifying at the commission. Nkosi has been charged for his handling of firearms and ammunition and the discovery of police dockets which had been missing at several police stations. Last week, Nkosi told the court that he fears for his life while behind bars, which prompted the court to order that he be held in the hospital wing of the Kgoshi Mampuru prison. Today, the state's advocate Tolwana Sekonyana argued that Nkosi is safer behind bars.
In the event that the inmate feels unsafe at the correctional facility, the state is able to arrange for an inmate to be kept at a more secure place where the inmate will be safe. The state is of the view that should the applicant be released on bail, his safety cannot be guaranteed due to the sensitivity of information related to his testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
In the Free State, 9 police officers accused of murder have been granted bail of 3,000 rand each by the Bultfontein Magistrates Court. They were arrested over the weekend and face 4 counts of murder, including the killing of a fellow officer linked to an incident in Pameng Township in September of 2024. The officers, all from the Public Order Police Unit, had responded to a reported domestic dispute involving family members. Now, it's alleged that when police tried to apprehend them, the family locked themselves inside the house and barricaded all entrances. According to police watchdog IPID, officers then carried out a tactical entry and opened fire, fatally wounding 3 family members and a 30-year-old constable. IPID spokesperson Paladi Shuping.
The case was postponed to 26 May 2026 for the DPP to decide on the forum on which the trial will be held.
In the Western Cape, government says it is continuing its fight against foot and mouth disease. It says the latest batch of 50,000 vaccines procured will boost efforts to contain the outbreak. Last month, around 8,000 doses were delivered, bringing the total at the time to approximately 170,000 doses received. With the latest arrival, the overall number of doses now stands at around 220,000. Western Cape Agriculture's Dr. Mogale Sebupetsa says collaboration between provincial government and the private sector has made this possible.
This shows partnership that government and the private sector could work together to break the back of foot and mouth disease, and we are determined that indeed with this partnership and the ecosystem that is in place, we will break the back of foot and mouth disease.
And today's deadline set by US President Donald Trump for a naval blockade of Iranian ports has passed. Trump announced a blockade of the strategic Strait of Hormuz after weekend peace talks with Tehran ended without an agreement. Yesterday, the US military announced it will begin blockading all Iranian Gulf ports on Monday at 2 p.m., but will allow ships not coming or going to Iran to pass through the strait. However, Trump says US forces would destroy any Iranian fast air attack ships that approach the American naval blockade of Iranian ports, which hasn't come into effect today. Meanwhile, Iran's ambassador to India, Mohammad Fatali, says Iran is ready for peace and ready for war, but prefers peace.
Unlawful demands and recognize our legitimate rights and interests. I think that the negotiation will be success, and the ceasefire depends on the daily approach to this negotiation.
Gold is trading at $4,271.94 an ounce. The rand is at 16.51 to the dollar, 22.22 to the pound, 19.34 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $100.51 a barrel.
In the traffic in Pretoria CBD, anticipate some delays in Hermanstad on Eskamplahlele Drive between Moot Street and WF Nkomo Street, as well as on Paul Kruger Street and Steve Biko Road.
In your sport, Miguel Cardoso expects an all-out attack from Esperance as attention switches to Mamelodi Sundowns' second leg semi-final in the CAF Champions League. Manchester United looking to cement third spot in the Premier League with the win over Leeds tonight. An 18-year-old Gout breaks 20-second barrier in 200 meters.
A partly cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Johannesburg drops to an overnight low of 14 degrees, reaching a high of 20. Pretoria 15 and 23. Vereniging at a low of 14, reaching a high of 21. The top story in EWN this hour, the family of Northwest businessman and ANC affiliate Suleiman Karim has confirmed that he's been admitted to a Johannesburg hospital.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
From the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between. It's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Enter now on Prime Media Plus. Let's talk shop.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 9 minutes past 5. Good to have you with us on the show. Over the next half an hour, we're going to focus on a crucially important matter. It's taken more than 10 years for any prosecutions to follow from the Life Esidimeni catastrophe. And catastrophe is the correct word because 141 people lost their lives in a series of as a result of a series of decisions that were absolutely avoidable. It's taken way too long for this to reach the point where the National Prosecuting Authority finally, after a long inquiry and then an inquest, now says they are ready to take people to court. A charge of culpable homicide has been mentioned, and we are waiting still to find out exactly who's going to be standing in the dock and what exactly the charges will be. But over the next 20 minutes or so, we'll review what's happened. We'll look ahead to what might and should happen. We'll do that in the company of two guests. Christine Ngomalo lost her sister in this absolute catastrophe, as I call it. She's also been working extensively with family members to try and get justice. And we'll talk as well to Sasha Stevenson, Executive Director of the organization Section 27 that began this legal battle. And Ms. Stevenson has stayed with it all the way through until now. That's coming up on 702 Drive. We'll bring you the latest from the traffic and, of course, we'll update you on what's been happening on the markets as well. 702 Drive, it's 11 minutes past 5.
702. WhatsApp John.
On 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. The one household chore I really absolutely enjoy is laundry. Not hand washing, but using of a washing machine. I enjoy loading it. I enjoy unloading it and hanging the laundry. The smell of freshly done laundry is my absolute favorite thing in the world. And similar to you, my second best favorite chore would have to be loading of the dishwasher. I also quite enjoy the challenge.
Hi John, it's Collier in the West End. I enjoy washing dishes any day, anytime. Any other chore, it just drains me.
Hi, Uncle John and the team. So as far as chores go, I love to iron. I love ironing. I love the smell of iron clothes. I love just seeing the creases just straightening out. I love ironing. I really do. It's so therapeutic to me.
We asked you what kind of chores you actually love. In the beginning, we got a whole of things from our colleagues about the things they dislike the least. But we're getting some love out there for some of the things that need doing. To that Life Esidimeni story in a moment, but first at 12 minutes past 5. Some of you, I'm sure, are out on the roads or heading out. You need to know what's happening in the traffic.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. And you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. There's problems on the M1 South near the Killarney Bends. quite significant ones, I would think. Khumotso Munyai, you've got all those details.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, John. If you are traveling on the M1 South, traffic is heavily congested as you approach the Killarney Bends, and it is due to an earlier accident just before Glenhove Road. Please consider using alternative routes such as Oxford Road or Glenhove Road or even Jan Smarts Avenue to avoid the affected area. If you are further up north, like in Sandton, you can just avoid the M1 altogether and take the M1. In the opposite direction, traffic remains sluggish on the M1 North from Collet Drive to the Batlu interchange. If you are traveling on the N3 South as well, traffic remains heavily backed up. This is from the Batlu interchange through to the Galulis interchange. Lastly, in the capital city, in Pretoria CBD, you can still anticipate those delays in Hermanstad on Eskamplahlele Drive between Moose Street and WF Ngomo Street. Likewise, if you come across any more traffic on your side, please do send us a tweet on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Sitting in a traffic jam is as fun as your alarm accidentally going off at 5 a.m. on a weekend. Mood ruin. But fortunately, the OUTsurance pointsmen are on the roads easing traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be quickly and safely. For the past 20 years, with OUTsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using hashtag PointsmenLove, licensed insurer and FSP.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes on 702.
My show is about your money, and it's about how people have made their money. But it's also about what happened to your money today, what happened on the JSE, what's happening overseas. All of these things, all about the way in which people make their money, spend their money, use their money, and in so many ways, use their money to make more money for them. What I absolutely love about the 702 family and 702 land is the huge warmth of people, the generosity that they show. But I also absolutely love the hustle. Anyone in business is actually trying to improve the economy. They're trying to have an impact on all of us. And there's a go-getting attitude to 702 land that you don't see in so many other places. That's what I really love about 702 land. That getting together and doing something new, and in the process, making money.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes. Weekdays from 6 to 8 p.m. From the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between. It's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Enter now on Prime Media Plus. Let's talk shop.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Let's focus our attention now on the hopes renewed of justice after more than 10 years. I'm referring, of course, to the Life Esidimeni catastrophe. At least 141 people died. This is a result of decisions made by officials in the Gauteng Health Department to move more than 1,700 mental health patients from Life Esidimeni facilities. After a lengthy inquiry under former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke, and then an inquest that followed, and then many months after that, finally, the National Prosecuting Authority says they are ready to prosecute. So we're going to find out something about the prosecutions themselves and what might take place, who might be prosecuted, what the charges might be. But first, let's get a perspective on what this actually means to people who actually lost family members and then fought long and hard to try and see a day when there might be a possibility for justice. My first guest is Christine Ngumalo. She is the sister of the late Virginia Machpela, who died in the Life Esidimeni tragedy and has, as a leading member of the Life Esidimeni Family Committee, fought hard for this day. Still a long way to go. Christine Ngumalo, good afternoon to you. But how did you feel when you heard the news today? Is this something that at least makes you feel that the end of the road is in sight? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John, and thank you for having me. It's surreal. It feels like it's not true, like it's a dream.
Yes.
I mean, it's been 10.5 years now. It's we almost can't believe it. I mean, the mixed messages we're getting from the families. Some are elated. Some are, is this true? Is this real?
Yes.
They're not going to stop and start somewhere. And so yeah, it just the fact that it actually came through. Yeah, and this is also 2 years after the inquest judgment. So yeah.
And the inquest judgment was absolutely clear about what the next steps should be. I would assume, Christine, that for some family members, given how long it's taken to get to this point, it's come too late. I would imagine some in the large extended family of people who lost so bitterly in this catastrophe, some people are no longer with us.
Yes, no, unfortunately we lost quite a few family members along the way. Yeah, and unfortunately there's nothing we could have done about it. As much as we hoped that it would come in sooner rather than later. But yeah, the fight had to continue though.
Yeah, and tell us, what are you hoping for from the court case? Do you have in mind, for example, who should be prosecuted, and if so, what charges they should face? I'm sure you've thought about this day at some length.
Look, we don't know exactly at this point, but we assume that it would be, as per the inquest, Qadani Mahlangu and Manamela, Dr. Manamela, who were key, apparently instrumental to this whole process, so this tragedy happening. So we assume it would be them that would be prosecuted.
There is a possibility as it unfolds that you and maybe others may have to be witnesses. That could be, on the one hand, cathartic in a positive way, but it could be very difficult as well. Have family members discussed that?
No, you must remember we were just trying to get to inquest. We were just trying to get a judgment. And when we did get a judgment, we thought we were going to go to prosecution, and it took another 2 years. So to be honest with you, I don't think we've spoken about that, and we've actually thought about it.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt for 1 second that any of the family members would have a problem with giving the testimony.
Yeah. Sasha Stevenson is the executive director of an organization, Section 27. They were front and center in firstly bringing this to public attention, and secondly, making sure that the wheels of justice eventually began to, first of all, that needed discovering on this particular matter, but then that they would eventually start grinding. And she joins us now. Sasha Stevenson, first of all, just your feelings on this day. Often when you've battled hard for something, but there's still a way to go, I can imagine there's a mix of exaltation and exhaustion. I'm not sure which one is predominant.
Afternoon, John. Yeah, I think you put your finger on it. It's been a long road, which makes this news very welcome, but also it does feel strange to have finally reached this point. And so we are elated. We're thrilled that the NPA has taken this decision, and we want to see it to the end. It's such an important step in this long and horrible tragedy, but we're really glad that we've now gotten to the stage, and we might start to see some individual accountability for what has happened.
How far and wide do you think that individual accountability should go? Because obviously there are people who most people are expecting. The former MEC for Health, Qadani Mahlangu, was certainly highlighted as somebody who should be prosecuted at the end of the inquest in that document. Mental Health Director Makgabo Manamela is also there. But this was, and I'm sure you've said it in as many words, a systemic failure as well. And systems are not generally built by just two people.
It was a systemic failure, but it was a systemic failure into which the actions of two people fell. And those actions and the decisions that were taken and the implementation of those decisions are what, according to the inquest judge, caused the deaths of at least 9 of the mental health care users. So to us, the priority now is the prosecution, at least of the 2 people who were identified in the inquest. The inquest judge found that Ms. Mahlangu, in making the decisions that she made in pushing the moving of people from Life Esidimeni to NGOs, that her actions were directly connected with the deaths of so many mental health care users. And similarly, Dr. Manamela, who was one of the chief implementers, who knew exactly what was going on the ground because she was receiving reports. She was in some cases in the NGOs, moving beds around to squeeze more people in, that her actions directly caused the death. So, that this criminal prosecution is so, so important. But you're right that it comes within a context, and that the mental health care system itself is weak and requires further investment and further attention. That's not a matter for a criminal court, but it's certainly a matter for the Department of Health to continue focusing, or to refocus on, and bring further attention to, because we know this isn't unfortunately wasn't the first, and unfortunately won't be the last example of a mental health system in this province failing people.
I'm thinking, though, eventually, and the high-level decisions are and their consequences, Ms. Stevenson, have been well documented. But then when people were placed at individual institutions, they were treated badly, and in many instances, if I've understood the evidence properly, they were treated with cruelty, and they were treated that way by people who took money to look after them. It's not as if this was a voluntary thing that people did to the best of their ability. I mean, would we not be missing out on a level of justice if at least some of those people were not held to account in a court for the way they treated people? It may not necessarily be at the level of culpable homicide, but I would have thought the law would provide for A, some scrutiny, and B, some sanction.
I think that's a fair point. The SIU has been doing really great work in recovering some of the funds from NGOs who were provided with resources to care for mental health care users and failed so abysmally to do so. So some of that accountability work has been done in that respect. And of course, there are various people that we think could be held criminally, in some respect, criminally responsible, and that accountability is needed. I think what makes that difficult though is that we had a context and a sort of power imbalance that made it quite difficult for people who had put their hands up to run NGOs to push back. And we saw throughout the inquest evidence of people raising concerns and then being overruled. Now, of course, the NGO owners and managers should have done more. That was very clear. But they were in quite an invidious position. And that was because of the decision makers and the implementers within the Department of Health, the people who the inquest judge found should be held criminally liable for this. So while, of course, there's a desire for further accountability, the accountability of the people essentially at the top is so fundamental to creating a culture within the mental health system that includes both government and community mental health, that is protective and caring for the people who are vulnerable and are within that system.
And just finally, Christine, I'd like to give you a chance for the last word. Obviously, now there will be a date set, there will be the accused, and there will be the charges, and then I guess in front of you and so many others who've suffered such terrible loss, but also been treated so badly by the system, many days in court, many postponements, I'm sure, a sense of progress on some days and frustration on others. How are all the family members gearing up for this? Because this is going to take time, mental strength, and it's actually going to cost people quite a lot of money, I would think.
Like I said, we actually, I think we've been looking forward to hearing about a prosecution. I'm sure as families, like we've done in the past, will come together, find a way of, assisting each other, because we can't all be in the courtroom every single day.
Yes.
So I'm sure we'll come up with ways of dealing with it, and but we definitely, in terms of supporting and being there as best as we possibly can, we're definitely going to try our best.
Well, Christine Ngumalo, we wish you peace and we wish you justice going forward. Sasha Stevenson, we wish you the same as we move to the next chapter of really what is, I think, one of the darkest moments in South Africa's democratic history, the Life Esidimeni catastrophe. Zane says we should be calling it a massacre, and I will share with you Zane's explanation for why he believes that is the correct term. But if you want to respond and give us your thoughts on this, please do give us a call on 072 702 1702. 29 minutes now past 5.
EWN Business.
Business news with Muteo Juaripe. Good afternoon to you once again.
Good afternoon, John. It's all red on the JSE. A slight reprieve for mining shares, but not enough to push up the local board for the JSE All Share, down 538 points. Industrials are weak, up by 0.5%. Banking stocks also down by close to 1%. There's a blockade within a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz between Iran and the US, and that's really has traders jittery at the moment. Thungela was up just 9%, Sasol up 3.9% as the price of oil goes up. Grindrod was up 2%, with Kilter up 1.7%. Some losses for Pepco, they were down 2.5%. Advotech down 2%. Vodacom down 1.9%, with Mr. Price amongst the losers, down 1.7% this afternoon. The rand at 16 rand 52 cents against the US dollar is down more than 0.5%. 19 rand 33 against the euro, and 22 rand 9 cents gets you a British pound. Price of gold down by close to 1%, $4,705 an ounce, while platinum is at $2,037. Brent crude unmoved, up 6.7%. Up $100 a barrel at the moment, and that is the main story we'll be focusing on the Money Show. We spoke to XA International Trade Advisors Director Donald McKay just on the situation here. That is going to be a major faltering point for energy across the world. Is it something that will preempt a war? Because when that strait is closed, of course, the likes of China and Russia also are looking to get in. We'll talk about that blockade and bringing it home, about fuel prices in the country and how those in freight are already being affected and how those prices will play themselves out for South Africans later on the show. And should we be demarketing Cape Town as a travel destination? The likes of Barcelona in Spain doing the same, as a lot of residents saying they can't keep up with the higher rent that they're seeing in mostly travel destinations. Is South Africa taking the same posture? Richard Marshall, founder of Knox Cape Town and the member of the Southern African Short-Term Rental Association, are joining us for that conversation. Then, now, business book review with Ian Mann. We're reviewing the book as CEO, founder, and that is just the main that will be happening on the Money Show this evening. The main point, of course, being minute-by-minute coverage of that blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. All that and more on the Money Show.
28 minutes now to 6 o'clock. Let's get the very latest eyewitness news once again with Mongezi Koko.
Thank you, Ndete John. A very good afternoon. The trial of former Umkhonto weSizwe Party MP Duduzile Zuma Sambudla has been postponed to tomorrow. A social media expert was back in the witness stand today, spending most of the day being cross-examined. Zuma Sambudla is charged with incitement to commit public violence as well as terrorism-related charges linked to the 2021 July unrest, which erupted after the arrest of her father, former President Jacob Zuma. At least 350 people died across the country, along with widespread looting and destruction. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
Duduzile Zuma Sambudla is back in the dock for her incitement case for allegedly fueling the 2021 July riots. The state believes she used her social media platform X, Twitter at the time, to encourage looters. Social media expert Emma Sadlia is being cross-examined.
In nowhere in my report, my lord, did I say that the phrase "we see you"
used by the accused is always attached to violence. It's always used as a recognition, admiration, gratitude, identifier.
Zuma Sambula's party has labelled the case a political witch hunt. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
Gauteng Education MEC Lebogang Maile says strengthening and modernizing the province's education system remains a key priority. Speaking at a briefing in Sandton, Maile outlined plans to bring more technology into the classroom while also improving learners' critical thinking and problem-solving skills. The initiative forms part of the department's 2025 to 2030 education strategy, which aims to address youth unemployment and ongoing skills shortages within the country. Maile says the department is also boosting support in language and mathematics alongside expanding technical high schools across the province.
The aim of the technical high school strategy is to expand participation by promoting and strengthening technical high school for a changing and modernizing world by offering technical subjects that will guide its activities over the next 5 years to address the skills shortage and unemployment crisis amongst the youth in the country.
In the Western Cape, 4 people have been arrested for illegal possession of West Coast rock lobster in separate incidents across Cape Town. On Saturday, marine law enforcement officers arrested a man after surveilling a premises that sold fish in the Bishop Lavis area. A search uncovered 2 bags containing 91 lobster tails. Yesterday, officers arrested 2 more suspects in the Parow area for possession of 1,000 lobster tails without a permit. The City of Cape Town's Wayne Dayson says their final arrest was a 48-year-old man in Hanover Park yesterday.
The male was then arrested and charged for possession of 3,747 West Coast rock lobster tails and 10 whole rock lobster without a permit, in terms of the Marine and Living Resources Act.
And in the U.S., critics are urging President Donald Trump to take down a post depicting himself as Jesus Christ. In a spree of late-night Truth Social posts, Trump branded Pope Leo as weak on crime and terrible in foreign policy. In response, the pontiff, who arrived in Algeria earlier today as part of an 11-day tour of Africa, told reporters that he did not fear the Trump administration and would continue to speak out against war. This is not the first time that the U.S. president has shared AI images of himself. Last year, he prepared to order the National Guard to deploy to Chicago and posted an AI-generated parody image of himself from Apocalypse Now. A partly cloudy Tuesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Lows of between 14 and 15 degrees with highs of between 20 and 23.
In the traffic is eased up on the M1 South near the Killarney Bends. However, it remains heavily backed up on the N3 South from the Batlu interchange through to the Gilulis interchange.
The top story in EWN. The trial of former Umkhonto weSizwe Party MP Duduzile Zuma Sambula has been postponed to tomorrow.
The Clement Manyatela Show on 702.
The Clement Manyatela Show is about everything. It's about current affairs, family matters, the work environment, your health and wellness, relationship and sex issues that couples face. It's about learning, helping each other, healing, teaching. It's about life in essence. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is that we are quite intentional about doing life together. We're always pulling through for each other, learning from each other, always teaching each other. We're not scared to disagree, but also we're brave enough to be vulnerable with each other. We just care about each other, and I think that is priceless.
The Clement Manyatela Show, weekdays from 9 to 12 p.m.
You may or may not know the difference between a timing belt and a timing chain, but you do know a great OUTsurance deal when you see one. Get a car insurance quote now, and if OUTsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS OUT to 45142. That's OUT to 45142. OUTsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Attention all shoppers.
Our supermarket shelves are full of unhealthy food. It's often hard for me to know which foods are good for my family. The information on packaged food is complicated and hard to understand. I wish we had easy-to-understand warning labels on foods high in salt, sugar, and saturated fat. We have the right to know what's in our food. Support front of package warning labels on unhealthy packaged foods. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Africa's trade system is at a turning point. Fragmented standards are increasing compliance costs, delaying exports, and enabling the illicit economy to flourish. On Wednesday, 15 April, industry leaders, regulators, and innovators gather at the GS1 South Africa in Durban to explore how globally recognized GS1 standards, adopted in 120 countries, supported by trusted product data and traceability systems, can enable safe trade, curb illicit activity, and protect consumers. Anchored in GS1's vision of powering trust in data for everyone, everywhere. 702 will be on the ground, bringing you all the action, updates, and conversations. Don't miss it on 702.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, good evening, Dr. John and the 702 lenders. With me, unfortunately, there isn't any household chore that I like. Since from childhood, I never used to like anything. Whether anything that is hard labor, like you're cleaning, you're doing the laundry. I love cooking though, but I do wash my pots, I do wash my plates, after everything. I clean up after everything. But please don't tell me to scrub the floors. Don't tell me to do the curtains and all those things. I can't. Andizi, Makoma from Kwatema.
Good afternoon, Uncle John. When we come to chores for the house, I love cleaning, cooking, and ironing. Those are my 3 choices, but not washing dishes. I'm sorry about that. Cheers, bye.
I wonder if on some of these, is there like an application, an app you can use where either if you're putting housemates together, you all try and list what it is you like doing, what you hate doing, and then you create a household based on that. Maybe dating sites could, include this so you get compatibility. I realize there's much more that goes into a relationship than compatibility around chores, but, there's an idea there. Probably a bad one. 702 Drive, it's 19 to 6.
EWN Sport.
Right, let's get some news from the Betway Premiership. Some changes, perhaps, at one of the clubs. Tolakela, what's the rumour?
Well, John, there's possibly a change at Kukune United amid reports that they've parted ways with Eric Tinkler. SABC Sport is reporting that Paulos Masehe will take charge for the remainder of the season, as Tinkler is given the boot for failing to achieve his mandate to secure a top 3 finish, as well as delivering silverware. As for Kaizer Chiefs, they're building momentum at the right time following a 2-0 success over TS Galaxy in the Betway Premiership yesterday. Brandon Peterson kept a clean sheet as the Glamour Boys won their fourth game in a row, and Cedric Kaze has had this to say on the return of their influential captain.
He's a player, he's our captain, and he's a player that gives you that confidence. He's a player that gives you the stability as well in the back. He's a player that is a leader on the field, off the field as well. And we are happy that he's back, and I hope that his performance will be good going forward.
Mamelodi Sundowns are potentially 90 minutes away from a CAF Champions League final after claiming a hard-fought 1-0 win over ES Tennis in the first leg of their semi. Brian Leon scored the winner for the Brazilians, who were reduced to 10 men after the sending off of Gran Kekana. And looking ahead to the second leg, Miguel Cardoso has warned his players that the Tunisians will come out fighting.
We don't give nothing for granted. The attitude in Pretoria has to be even stronger, even more commitment, even more tactical strictness, and even more control of the match and the play to win. Because when you don't play to win, you can suffer, and that's the only way this team has and knows how to play. So we need to take the game for that platform.
Match day 32 in the Premier League concludes this evening with the clash between rivals Manchester United and Leeds at Old Trafford. The Red Devils are looking for a win that will edge them closer to UEFA Champions League qualification, while Michael Carrick has warned against complacency. That's against a side who are looking to move further away from the relegation zone.
It's gone on for an awful long time. That's what rivalries are there for a really good reason, I think, to be part of, and the intensity and the emotion and the passion that goes into it. Obviously, it's got to keep within the margins, but I think with that's part of the game we love, and going up against other teams and essentially other areas, and battling it out on the pitch. So I think it's something that we got to embrace, and it's as I say, it's why we're involved for these type of games.
An 18-year-old Australian Gout has run a 200-meter time quicker than Usain Bolt managed at the same age. The teenager set a time of 19.67 seconds to win the national title in Sydney, as he bettered Bolt, who clocked a 200-meter best time of 19.93 seconds at 17 years old. Gout did run a wind-assisted time of 19.84 seconds last season, but Sunday's race was his first legal sub-20-second time. Tola Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
At 16 minutes to 6, this EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. We had big problems on the M1 South near Killarney Bends. I don't know, Khomotso Munyai, whether we've still got that problem.
Thank you, John. In fact, traffic has eased up on the M1 South near the Killarney Bends, so maybe no need for those alternative routes anymore. But traffic remains heavily backed up on the N3 South. This is from the Batlu interchange through to the Galulis interchange, so you might want to exercise a little bit of patience there. You can still expect those peak time delays on the N1 South from the Batlu interchange all the way to Beyers Nodia Drive. And in Pretoria CBD, you can also anticipate some delays in Hermanstad on Eskempakele Drive between the R80 and FW Ngomo Street, as well as on Paul Kruger Street and Steve Biko Street. Also be aware of faulty traffic lights on four ways at Winnie Mandela and Monte Casino, in Randburg at Malibongwe and CR Swart, as well as in Midrand at the N1 South and Olifantsfontein. I must tell you though that pointsmen are on duty there. If you do come across any other traffic, please continue to send us a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Things people stress about in traffic. Number 50 was, as per my last email, too passive-aggressive. Oh, the torture. Well, with the Outsurance pointsman on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702, Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
From the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between, it's the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Enter now on Prime Media Plus. Let's talk shop.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive. Well, a number of really interesting things happened at the DA Congress over the weekend. We've discussed some of those. Earlier with Ryan Kutsia giving his take on the new leadership that has been chosen. And if you missed that interview, you can take a listen to it on our website, primemediaplus.com. But this was a little bit unusual. Many different media houses were covering the Congress. One of them was ENCA, and Gareth Edwards, a host on that channel that I'm sure all of you know, was chatting to Helen Ziller. Take a listen to the way this interview unfolded.
Oh gosh, here's my song. Here's my song. Oh, anyway, I'll have to. That's my song.
You're going to karaoke for us again.
So what happened there was Gareth Edwards and Helen Zille were in a conversation about the issues before the Congress. I didn't hear all of what they were chatting about before. Suddenly a performer on the stage, because there was entertainment there as well, began singing the Brenda Fassie classic Vulindlela, and Helen Zille burst into song and gave her rendition. Gareth prompted it by saying, "Are you going to give us a karaoke?" And that's what unfolded, if you're trying to make sense of what happened there. But the question we want to ask you is simply this. Is there a song that you would say, amongst all the many, many songs that you like and love, and that would be true of all of us, I would think, but is there one that you would say, this one is my song? If there is a song that is your song, give us a call or drop us a note on 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. Tell us which is your song, the one song that you absolutely says, that's mine. And we'll see if we can dig it out and play it. And by the way, when you drop us that note, tell us why that song means so much to you above all the others that you love. 072 702 1702. It's 11 minutes to 6.
The Aubrey Masangu Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting them. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 land is the fact that we have 702 landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masangu Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight.
That's Liesel, before she got naked. Liesel checked her insurance premium and got angrier than the time a teenager called her Tani. So Liesel got naked and got comprehensive car insurance and a way lower premium in seconds, all on the Naked app. There we go, Liesel. Get a car and home insurance quote now at naked.insure and see how much you can save when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
Dreaming of your next getaway? Whether it's a sun-soaked beach escape, an adventure-packed tour, or a luxury cruise, Flight Centre is your center for travel. We make travel easy, affordable, and stress-free. Plus, you can enjoy exclusive traveler perks with our frequent Flighty Rewards program. Flight Centre's got you covered. Visit your nearest Flight Centre store or online at flightcentre.co.za. Flight Centre, your center for travel.
We said, let's talk shop. And small business owners answered, from the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between. Now, 702 and MTN Business want to share their stories with you. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Listen to 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa and the Afternoon Drive with John Perlman all week to meet the businesses doing big things. Hear what it really takes to build something from the ground up. And if you you're listening thinking, that sounds like my business. Go to primemediaplus.com now to enter or nominate a small business you know, because the next business we talk about could be yours. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. TCs and more on primemediaplus.com.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Afternoon, John. For me, it would be Madonna's Jump. And it's because you have to pivot and change the whole time. Because if you think you're going to live a normal life in this country, wow, you're living with blinkers in your thinking.
Good afternoon, Tate John. This is Lefang Khadima from Orlando West. So for me, the song which I would say that this is my song. Yeah, it has definitely got to be a song by Loiso Pala. A song titled Maybe. Yeah, that's my jam. Yeah, that's definitely my jam, Tate John. Thanks for the awesome show. Away.
Maybe it's time we step back, go to the beginning. We've been fighting, breaking, we can stop the bleeding. We have lost the very meaning of real love. Come back to the two of us, baby, let's get serious. If you want to, girl, I need to take your breath away. We can still be fabulous. Maybe I don't see myself being without you. Maybe you don't know by now that I love you. Maybe I'm just so afraid just to lose you.
Loyiso Bala came out in 2007. Maybe. The question we asked you, if you've just joined in and you want to see if you can get some music in as well, what is that song that you would say, this is my song, amidst all the other music that you love? Maybe there's one that absolutely stands out. It seems like that is the case for quite a few of you.
John, mine is Bose, Big City. That song played for the first time when I heard that song for the first time when I was actually visiting Johannesburg in the 80s. This has always been my song. As we hit Davidton and starting to see the city lights, that song actually came in. To this day, that has remained my song. Bose, Big City.
Hello, Ntate John, and all the 702 listeners on this rainy Monday afternoon. My song is ABBA, Dancing Queen. I was born in 1975, so it's a lot older than me, but it's just literally the song that will get me up and dancing no matter where I am. A wedding, the White House, it doesn't matter. It is just, it's my theme tune. Thank you so much. Bye.
ABBA with Dancing Queen. Lolly says, I have two. There's so many songs about brown eyes. I have green eyes, which are rare. So when Coldplay brought out a song about green eyes, it became my song. Second song, my Christian names are Mariana Magdalena, but my nickname is Lolly. So when I heard Zahara's song Lolly Way, it became my song and my African name. I just adore it.
John, hi, Gray. David in Boxburg here. My song is Labisa Frey's My Song. There's lyrics in the song that says that I may not always sing in tune, and my boy always reminds me how tone deaf I am. Really beautiful song for me as well. Lyrics really reminds me why I enjoy singing, and whether I have a singing voice or not, as long as I enjoy music, that's the important bit. And my wife knows that I love singing as well, so she doesn't have to be near me to know that I'm singing. Thank you. Have a good one.
Hey, John, this is Vic from Sunny Hill. My song is Everyday People by Arrested Development. I am everyday people. I love it because it describes a situation where guys on a date, I guess because I go on a lot of dates or used to. That's why I love it.
Arrested Development, Everyday People. Gavin says my song back in the day was Sipho Hot Sticks and Burnout. And this one from CJ. My song is definitely Sam Cooke. A change is gonna come. Yeah, lots and lots of great songs. I thought people would struggle, by the way, out of all the music they like, to pick out one or two that are absolutely special. But hey, all you everyday people have managed to come up with some great ones. This has been 702 Drive. I hope you've enjoyed the show, put together by Jonathan Fairburn and Rifue Litsua. Karabo Malapile, our technical producer. I'm John Perlman. Have yourselves a great Monday. Good night.
They got Trump, they got guns, and yes, they wanna fight. And they see a young couple having a time that's good. And the Eagles wanna test the brother's manhood. So they came to test me because of my heritage and the loud, bright colors that I wear. I was a target because I'm a fashion misfit. And the outfit that I'm wearing, brothers dissing it. While I stay calm and pray the leave me be. But they squeeze parts of my date's anatomy. Why, Lord, your brothers have to drill me? Because if I start to hit this man, they'll have to kill me. You see,
And now, The Money Show with Moteo Haripe.
On 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Crotus is brought to you by ABSA CIB. Discover the latest trends are shaping digital assets across Africa. Download the ABSA Africa Digital Assets Insights 2025. Tonight on The Money Show, we focus on the Strait of Hormuz, where the US has started its own blockade there, with Iran also pushing back. That story, having a chat with a director at XA International Trade Advisors, Donald McKay. Then looking at the market commentary in what was a very tough trading day, the JSE closing far lower than it should. But of course, with the geopolitics happening all around the world, we're seeing some of that weakness. Siboniso Ngumalo, the CIO at Old Mutual Investments.